A new era. Everything is changing. The way we invest, the way we build wealth, opportunities are seized. Technology is rewriting the rules. And crypto, it's at the center of the biggest financial shift in history. Wealth is being created faster than ever before. Millionaires are being minted, whales are getting richer, and yet retail investors keep getting left behind. Why? Because most investors are playing the wrong game. They miss the cycles. They turn life-changing gains back into nothing. They hold the wrong coins. They make emotional decisions, chasing hype, reacting to FOMO, drowning in the noise. Every day they search for answers, following influencers, TikTok trends, YouTube hype, only to be misled by those paid to sell dreams. The whales, they play a different game. They don't chase trends. They don't react. They structure their portfolio before the market moves. They accumulate early. They act on real data, and they follow a real strategy. While retail investors scramble to catch up, the whales are quietly exiting and profiting. The retail investors are their exit liquidity. Today, most investors are stuck. No portfolio strategy, no sell plan, just reacting to headlines, watching gains disappear, holding the wrong coins, while other opportunities pass them by. That is exactly why Collective Shift exists today. An independent crypto research company with no paid promotions, no hidden agendas, just data-driven insights designed to position serious investors ahead of the crowd. Today, Collective Shift is trusted by crypto investors around the world with real strategies, real portfolios, and real results. The bull run is here, but it won't last forever. And the difference between life-changing gains or another missed cycle comes down to having the right strategy at the right time. Institutions aren't coming, they're already here. Capital is flowing, smart money is positioning. The greatest crypto cycle in history is happening now. Some will make generational wealth, others will stuff it up once again. The future belongs to those who are prepared, to those that act now. Welcome to the High Net Worth Crypto Investor Summit. Great to see everyone tuning in. We've got a couple of hundred people already live, which is unreal. Let us know where you're coming in from in the chat. It's our first ever event live from Miami. We're super pumped. Today is going to be massive. For all of those large investors that have signed up for today's event, we've got hundreds and hundreds tuning in. And today we've got a full day packed of content. We're going to go for about the next 3 or so hours, giving you all a lot of amazing insights that's happening right now. You know, Bitcoin just this morning was literally pumping as we were having coffee this morning after gold had a big dump. And now Bitcoin and crypto are starting to really move. And there's so many great opportunities in this market, which we're going to share. But today I'm super excited. Let me know where you're coming in from. We got Stuart, Southern California. We got Harry from Beantown. Never heard of Beantown. Welcome, Harry. Hey, James from Sydney. Ahmed from Montreal.
Boston, isn't it?
We've got Luke from Brisbane, Eve from Central Victoria, Haley from New Zealand. Wow, there's people flying in from everywhere. Cullen's coming from his living room. Amazing. That's a great spot to be watching. We also got Adelaide, Jason from the Gold Coast. We've got Stephanie from South Africa. Australian retaining walls. We've got members in the room. Welcome, mate. We've got Nick from San Francisco. Sarah from Florida. Harry from Boston. Man, I'm not going to lie, it is hot in Miami. We did a bit of a workout this morning for about 20 minutes, and I was done. I had to wrap up. So it's great to be here, though. We've actually got some of the Collective Shift team that have flown out today for today's event. We've got a few client days ahead of us, and yeah, we're going to be streaming this High Net Worth Summit today for all of you. So we're going to jump into things. I'm pumped to get through a lot of content. We've been working on the slides all today because honestly, there's so much that's happening in the market, and it's literally updating live in real time. And I wanted to just say well done for joining this summit. This High Net Worth Summit is for crypto investors that have more than $250,000 in your portfolio, or if you're looking to invest that amount of money, all right? And we've got already nearly 250 live today. It's going to be epic. There's going to be so much value that we're going to go throughout, all right? And I wanted to start with, I've got a bit of a bone to pick, all right, with the crypto industry, because so many people think this cycle's over. And, you know, for most of us, we haven't got to the point where we've, signed, sealed, delivered, and made a lot of money in crypto. In fact, most people don't. All right. This opportunity to make the most of this bull market is closing. All right. And we do have into 2026 to go in terms of this cycle, but people are giving up and throwing in the towel already because they're getting sucked into the noise online. All right. And the window of the opportunity, in my opinion, is over the next 12 months. All right. From November next month right through to the end of next year, that is the window where we believe the bull market has, the best to give. And we want to make sure you're all making the most of what's to come. All right.
because you missed this, and like most of us have been in crypto for a little while, if you miss the bull market, if you miss the opportunity, if you don't take profits, the downwards period is horrible, all right? It's very, very painful, all right? And even if you've done really well so far, hopefully the last couple of bull markets have taught you that making money is easy on paper. It's keeping it that's the hard thing. It's the exit strategy. It's the psychology. And we've got a couple of sessions today that's going to focus primarily on how to build that exit strategy, how to actually take profits. And Travis, our head platinum coach, is going to walk through the psychology of investing as well today that we haven't shared a lot of this content before, which I'm very excited for all of you to get going. Today is about taking action, all right? And all of you showing up across the world. We've got nearly 250 live, people from all around the world coming in. A lot of you are busy, you have a large amount of money in crypto or other assets, and you want to take action. So well done for being here, all right? We actually have over 1,000 people registered. That's 1,000 people registered for this event with more than $250,000 in crypto. And this is what I see, all right, investors making the mistake of, or how they're feeling. You're drowning in information, all right? There is just shit everywhere. 15 different influencers saying 15 different things, all right? Everyone on YouTube shilling a different coin. You've got Telegram groups trying to send you different alerts. You've got WhatsApp groups flooded with alpha. You're trying to trade. You don't know who to trust. You don't know what to buy, when to sell. You're doing all these hours of research. You don't even know who to listen to anymore. All right. And while all of this is happening and you're trying to make all this money in crypto, your work needs you. Maybe your business, your family needs you. Your accountant tells you he's got no idea about crypto. Your financial advisor is telling you to sell it. All right. And your wife's telling you, why are you in your bedroom all night playing on crypto? All right. That's where the state of the union's at. All right. Let's actually talk about what this is doing to you when you're just doing this alone. All right. If you calculated 10 to 15 hours per week, I think if you're doing this okay, all right, in crypto, that's about 520 to 780 hours per year. At an hourly rate, if you're a business owner, it's probably going to be higher than this, but for most executives, between $200 and $500 an hour. All right. That's close to $100,000 to $300,000 in opportunity costs that you're spending trying to figure out crypto on your own. All right. And the cost of following the wrong influencer, all right, making a bad decision, panic selling during a correction. Did anyone, here get scared last week when we had that big dip? Let me know in the chat. Hit me a yes if you got scared when we had the biggest liquidations in crypto history last week. It was bigger than FTX. Some altcoins wicked down 80 or 90%. Did anyone get scared? Let me know in the chat. All right. If you get worried and you sell, you panic sell, you don't have the right information, it can cost you tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands, all right? Even the wrong structure, the tax strategy, the over-concentration in one altcoin can cost you a lot, all right? So here's what's possible with the real strategy, all right? And I know this because I started trying to do this on my own 9 years ago, and we've worked through all of the data, all right, of my investments over the last 3 years to understand the real returns, the real portfolio, and the real money based on our process, all right? And this has been my personal portfolio. It's the Collective Shift portfolio that we share. Over the last 36 months, the results and ROI of the strategy that we implement and the strategy we teach and my portfolio, all right, has outperformed, you'd hope you'd outperform the S&P being crypto. But over the last 3 years has dominated, all right? And on average, over the last 2 or 3 years, we've done close to 300, 400, 500% returns on the portfolio every single year. Everything's transparent, every trade, every investment, every buy and sell, everything. All right. And if you'd copied this and just followed me and invested that $250,000 that we're talking about today or more 3 years ago, that annualized growth rate was 58%. All right. And that is better than pretty much any other asset class you're going to get. And we use proper risk and reward strategies, which I'm going to teach all of you today, without having to trade and take all these crazy meme coin risks. All right. This is a super simple strategy. This is just some of our winners of our investments here at Collective Shift. So got ETH at $80, Syrup at 5 cents, Solana we got at $22, IMF at 15 cents, Bitcoin at 3,000, Hype at 23, and Pendle at 14 cents. Just to name a few, some of the investments that we share. Now, we are very, very driven on trust and transparency at Collective Shift. These are not just random picks. Every single trade or investment we share, all right, and it's all transparent for all of our clients and even the public to follow along. All right, and I'm going to share with you how we found these investments and what we're looking at right now for this next leg up over this next 12 months. But before we kick in, all right, I want to be 100% transparent with all of you. Okay, this summer's going to be very different. First of all, we're in Miami, right, which is absolutely epic. We are not going to hype you up, all right, with unrealistic promises, crazy meme coin, shilling random altcoins here or there and giving you just general advice you can find on YouTube. I do a lot of free YouTube content. You can go and watch that. Some of you may already be there. We're not going to go into the normal stuff today. All right. We really want to share with you the exact system I use to manage my own portfolio and have grown it to literally from nothing 9 years ago. I shared a bug with my brother to over 7 figures. The real frameworks that you can implement immediately without having to spend all the time doing it on your own. All right. And sharing some real results and honestly just being brutally honest about what's working and what's not. Because I haven't got it 100% correct, this cycle. No one does. All right. We want to be honest and transparent and help all of you sort of succeed today and actually take something away and stop listening and getting sucked into the noise online. All right. From these influencers. Specifically today as well, gold is down 5% today. All right. Gold's been on a crazy run. All right. Everyone's buying into it. People lining out the doors. The local top potentially is in for gold. And what's happened is this money rotation. All right. That money rotation has happened consistently before. People getting worried and scared that the cycle was over. I do not believe that. All right. I believe we're going to see a gold to Bitcoin rotation. And Matt, our director of research, is about to come up and share a lot about that. Why taking advantage of the market right now is super important. All right. And then also what investments and altcoins we're investing in ourselves. Okay. But most importantly, we want you all to exit this cycle 6 to 7 figures richer. All right. Not just numbers on a screen, not just paper money, but real money. Right? Exiting with actual money in the bank is our focus for all of you today to make sure you take advantage of this next 12 months. Money you can actually utilize to set up your family. All right? Buy that property you've been eyeing off, retiring early, leaving a legacy for your kids, whatever it is. I believe this next 12 months is going to be the last period of time we have in crypto to get the wealth returns that we've seen. Okay? And I'm in the process right now buying my parents a property, being able to do that through crypto. We rented our whole life. My mum and dad still rent back home in a small country town in Australia. And being able to do that through crypto is one of the greatest benefits, honestly, to be able to do this properly and now share that with everyone else. Okay, and regardless of whether you decide to join us or not, I'm going to share a few things later about what that looks like. Our ultimate goal today is that you take away information. You've given us your time today. We want to make sure you take away these insights and actually action it and actually improve your portfolio, not make the same mistakes again, all right? Or just enter crypto and not make the same mistakes that we've done our whole career, all right? Because so many people follow these common mistakes, and we're going to share a lot of that with you today, specifically around the high net worth strategies, all right, which I'm going to be sharing later today. Now, the second hope, if it makes sense, and if you go through this next 3 hours, you go, wow, these guys actually know what they're talking about. These guys could actually help. I've been looking for someone to mentor, coach, get the insights to help me with my portfolio. Then I want to make sure that you're here at the end to take it up. All right? Because if you're the right person, and it's not for everyone, you do have to have a minimum of $250,000 in your crypto portfolio or in your net worth looking to invest that in crypto. We only work with select people. But if it is the right fit for you, I'm going to share that with you at the end. All right? And I'm going to do that because we only have 10 spots remaining in our cohort. We have an exclusive inner circle community. We are closing this cohort off. All right? We have about 300 clients in our high net worth program at the moment. We've got 2 cohorts. One's already closed. This second one's going to close. I don't know when it's going to open up again. And I want to make sure that everyone here has the best opportunity to get access to those 10, because after that, that's going to be over. And we're going to look to potentially increase prices when and if we open that cohort up again in the future. So I'll share that with the end for those who are interested. The other thing as well, we've got some exclusive, amazing bonuses for all of you for showing up today. Limited time for all of you. Whether you sign up for our programs or not, we have bonuses for both. All right, including our altcoin mastery blueprint. This is our up-to-date altcoin investor checklist. We're going to share with that to you all for free, plus our 7-step crypto strategy process we're going to take through the process. I'm going to share that with you at the end. All right. Either way, I want to make sure you win. All right, and go through everything today and get it. We're going to do some Q&A. We're going to go through the markets. It's going to be a lot of coverage across different things. But ultimately, we do these events, right? Because when I started in crypto, I had no one to really understand and listen to. I spent 6 months trying to figure it out on my own and really just couldn't figure it out. And people just mumbo jumbo. They share all these altcoins and start getting you in trading and you lose a bunch of money. We do these events now because I want to help change the way people invest. All right. I'm on a mission with Collective Shift. I started this company 5 years ago to really be able to build what I believe will be the most trusted crypto research company in the world. We're already close to being number one, but it's about bringing the community along with it. All right. And our vision is to build one of the leading, if not the best, wealth-driven communities in the world. And that's why we do these live events, because I love speaking to all of you and helping you out. All right. Nick, Ben is a hustler. I love the passion and energy. Thank you, sir. That's great. I'm a little bit jet lagged, to be honest. I haven't really slept that much the last few nights, but crypto's been too exciting. But before all of this, all right, before Miami, Collective Shift, all this team, I was, genuinely just a regular kid from Australia, all right, small town. I've shared this story a number of times before. All right, I shared a bunk bed with my brother up until 8 years ago. I had no money at all. My parents still rent. All right, wasn't top of my class, had no family money, had no degree. I wasn't given anything. I was always taught to work for it and figure it out. All right. And my one goal that I had is I didn't want to work that 9 to 5. I didn't want to have that basic, boring lifestyle. I wanted to help my family, with financial freedom and getting them out. And that's what I've been able to do over these last few years. Because I realized school doesn't teach you any of this stuff. They don't teach you how inflation works. They don't teach you how the dollar is going to continue to go down, how your salary doesn't, increase, doesn't outpace inflation, doesn't teach you about investing. Heck, school doesn't even teach you how to do your taxes. It's ridiculous. All right. The banks get bailouts when they stuff up and we get told to budget. Right. And I thought, fuck this, I'm not playing this game. And I know a lot of you here today that are listening in, you're business owners, you're successful, you've got a lot of money. And I know you've been through a lot of this process, personally. And for me, crypto was that way out. All right. At 17, I went all in. That was nearly 9 years ago now. I quit school, sold my business at 17. I took every dollar I had, put it all into crypto. I bought Ethereum at $80, Bitcoin in the low thousands. Everyone thought I was insane. You can imagine a 17-year-old kid in Tasmania talking about Bitcoin back in the day. Ridiculous. All right. But I knew this space was going to be big. All right. And I knew the future of money was going to be in digital assets. All right. I got in early. I made all this money, but I didn't have a strategy and I just lost it all. I wrote it up to the hundreds of thousands of dollars and lost the entire thing. I remember feeling that guilt and that shame when you start showing the screenshots to your friends and family. All right. And then a few months later, you have nothing to show for it because I got greedy. I got overwhelmed and I had no fucking idea what I was doing. All right. And that's because I had no guidance, no plan. And it was very easy to just make money on paper. All right. And like so many others, I round tripped the entire thing from nothing to 6 figures back to nothing again as an 18-year-old or 20-year-old, however old it was. I lost $120,000 in a single trade, made a stupid mistake early days. Would have been a lot more than that if I actually held on to the altcoin that I got into. That's a story for another day. But losing money in crypto is painful and challenging and it's crushing, all right? But it changed me, all right? And that's when ultimately I got serious because I was like, I'm not doing that again. That's where I teamed up with Matt, our director of research, who's about to come on and speak in a second, just flew in from Australia. He's now our director of research. We have a team of 19 people across the world, and we built a system based on strategy and not just shooting from the hip and hoping for the best, because hope is not a strategy. We nailed the metaverse run. I got very early into that, and I was able to honestly take out life-changing amounts of money. I shared these screenshots before, from literally, I'm not sure if you can see that on the screen, but from literally having nothing to having like 50,000, 100,000, dollars arriving in my bank account when I was like 21, 22, changed my life. And the reason I was able to execute that and actually sell was from the strategy that we're going to teach all of you today. All right. And over the last 3 years on an annualized return basis, I've personally, this is my portfolio that we share with our clients, 77% return in last 12 months, 99% annualized, and 77% annualized over the last 36 months. All right. That is my crypto portfolio. And that is based on larger amounts of investing, based on not taking that risk to reward, that a lot of people take too much risk and then lose the entire thing. All right. And that's what I'm going to share with all of you today. And it's all down to the strategy, the 7-step process that we're going to teach all of you today to make sure you don't round trip and you can get access to the right altcoins and investments. Because so many people don't understand that the right investments are not available on Coinbase, not available on Kraken. The best altcoins are available in decentralized markets, primary markets, some people talk about. That's where I made a lot of my money. But unless you know where to find these things, you're always going to be too late and you're always going to be the exit liquidity for the bigger investors. Everything I've taught, everything I've learned over the last 9 years, I've done publicly, or I've done a TEDx talk on crypto. I have 120, 130,000 followers online. I'm very public about, the investing and strategies. And that was the start of Collective Shift. All right. Today, we've got 19 full-time people around the world. I spend over $300,000 a month on my team, and the insights that these guys give me to invest is what gives me the edge. All right. And I want all of you to start to think about what is your edge in crypto. Okay, I know it's overwhelming. I know it's confusing. I know there's so many different people saying different things, but who are you listening to? All right. When I started to actually dial in who I was listening to and trusted the people around me, that's when things changed. And this is our team now. As I said, we're one of the world's leading crypto research companies. We're building one of the biggest wealth-driven communities and exclusive groups of high net worth individuals that want to grow their portfolio and be amongst the 2% that actually win in crypto that are not doing this full time. And that's the amazing community. And that's what we've been able to build. And that's what I'm going to share a little bit today. All right. We're now global. All right. We've got clients from all around the world, which is really amazing. And just building the edge that I wish I had when I started, because I didn't know what I was doing. And that's primarily from on-chain analysis, fundamentals, and sentiment, exit strategies, getting access to early stage altcoins and getting out at the right time. All right. We built the team, built the process and scaled across the world. And that's based on that strategy. All right. And I wanted to build a company that was based on trust and transparency, not hidden shills, fake influencers. I used to work for a crypto YouTube influencer. I've seen how the YouTube model works. It is the Wild West. People are paid non-disclosure agreements to promote altcoins. They promote them with their audience and then they just sell into them. All right, it's absolutely wild. We have a full trust and transparency process. All of the numbers I'm going to share with you today, everything is online on our website. You can go over and check it out. All of our team have a disclosure policy. We're completely independent. Okay, we don't do paid advertising. We don't do affiliates. Everything we do is transparent and trustworthy because that is everything that crypto isn't. Okay, and that's what I want to make sure you all know that today. We are research partners for some of the biggest crypto companies around the world. Coinbase is a client of ours. CoinSpot, SwiftX. We've got institutions from around the world, and they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for the research and insights I'm going to share with all of you today. All right. Personally, I get paid thousands of dollars an hour to teach at different universities. Tens of thousands of dollars I was paid for an entire year, a salary to be on a podcast to talk about crypto. All right. Because ultimately, I want to help the people that care most about their portfolio and actually want to grow, and that's our clients. Right, our clients pay $15,000 a year to work with us, US dollars. All right, that has been continuously increasing because the demand is out of control, and that's what I was mentioning at the start. I'm going to share a little bit about if you want to work with us later. Those 10 last spots we have in the cohort before we shut it down. These people is who I love working with the best because I can work with them. We can grow their portfolio, all right, and we can win together. And the process that we're going to share with you today, the same process that we laid out with all of our platinum clients, is the thing that has changed the game for so many people. All right, we've got 1,100 clients across our entire business, 300 now in our platinum program. All right, and so many people join this coming from a space of being overwhelmed, their portfolio's down, they don't know what they're doing. Ron was one of those guys. Just being able to come in, he made 200% in the first few months by cutting his portfolio, getting into the altcoins that our analysts reviewed, and being able to save time by just checking out WhatsApp and our monthly sessions to change the game for him. All right, Adam. He's a business owner. His portfolio was down 80%. All right, he came to us. He was stuffed. He had all these altcoins, had no idea. We sat down with him, coached him through it, looked at the portfolio, reviewed it, simplified it, got in the right altcoins, and now he's back up again. All right, Simon, so many people that are trying to get into crypto get sucked in by these traders trying to sell them trading courses and trading dreams. Guess what? 99% of people that try and trade crypto do not win. If it was easy to make money, everyone would do it. I know a lot of you at home know that. All right. Simon was a trader. He came to Collective Shift. He's now one of our ambassadors. All right. And he's being able to grow his portfolio and now help a lot of other people around the world. He's coming to our Miami event on Thursday, which is absolutely epic. Adrian, he works in the space. Adrian's actually my crypto tax advisor. He's a busy guy. Just being able to come to Collective Shift to cut through the noise. We focus on cutting through the noise and giving clarity, not overwhelming people. All right. That's what's allowed him to grow his portfolio and cut through the noise and save him a bunch of time. We had Joe that just had so many losses in his portfolio, had no idea really what was going on, was overwhelmed by the craziness of crypto. All right, he's been able to turn his portfolio back in just literally 4 months. All right, or Bruce, he's over 60s. We've got a lot of people in their retirement that come to Collective Shift to grow and make sure their retirement is set up. We help Joe just manage his portfolio, being able to save time and grow the wealth and get ready for retirement. He's one of our, many retirees that have come to us to get support. And there's literally just, honestly, hundreds of case studies and testimonials you can go over and check out on our website. We'll share a little bit more today, all right? But there's so many that I want to share, but I want to make sure everyone today gets a lot out of the market and a lot out of the insights we're going to share, all right? Our member growth team is in the chat with you. Just going to check the chat. There's 344 live. This is phenomenal, folks. Welcome, everyone. So the member growth team is in the chat. We've got Reese, Beck, San, Alice, DT, all in the chat. So if you have any questions at all, please make sure you fire in those questions. We'll be going for about 2.5 more hours. All right, we're going to be going through so much insights, content. If you have any questions at all, please drop it in the chat. Let's get the chat firing up, by the way, making sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. Number one question, let's get in here. In the chat, can you honestly say who, actually, this is just for me to know who's actually in the crowd, who here has 10 to 15 hours a week to analyze crypto, the charts, and stay on top of it? Say yes if you've got time. Say no if you don't have time. Just let me know in the chat, just so I can understand who's here. I know a lot of you filled out the survey, so thank you. So I've already got a lot of data here, but let me know yes if you've got time to spend 15 hours a week on crypto, no if you don't. I'd just love to know. But yes, Haley, Yes, cool. No. Jonathan, yeah, you're a busy man. Awesome. Okay. Some yes, some no. That's good. Cool. Next one. If the market dumps tomorrow, 20%, you wake up tomorrow, your portfolio's down 20%. Do you have a plan? Are you prepared for that plan? All right. Do you have 100% confidence that you are going into tomorrow with a plan? Yes or no? Yes, I have a plan. I don't care if the market dumps tomorrow. No, I don't have a plan and I'll be worried or panicked. No, nope. Okay. And look, it's okay if you don't. It's great if you do. Doesn't matter either way. All right, cool. Jason buys the dip. Great. Vicky just holds. Adam's going to buy. Haley, nope. Okay, cool. That's good. If I showed you a system that has delivered me 640% over 3 years, all right, whilst I'll run a business with 19 full-time staff, traveled the world, all right, and I haven't had to trade, and it's outperformed the S&P, would you like to know how that works? Yes or no? If I showed you that same system that I've followed. Hopefully it's a yes. I mean, if it's a no, it's probably no point at you being here. But Peter, no? Okay, cool, man. Maybe you can jump off the call. Probably not going to be helpful if you don't want it. Okay, cool. That makes sense. I just want to make sure you guys are listening. That's great. Now, last question. Do you think, or what do you think is the biggest factor in crypto success? Do you think it's the person or the process? If you think about all the people around you, all right, if you think about your friends, your family, anyone that you know that's actually successful in crypto, do you think it's the person or the process that makes the thing that's successful? We've got Jason, process. Lizzie, process. Ewan, person. Okay, person. Georgia, person. Stephen, process. Okay, we've got a few mixed answers. Good to see 370 live on the call right now. By the way, folks, this is unreal. Fantastic. Okay, bit of everything. Cool. I'll give you the answer. I've seen it because I know because I've worked with thousands of different people across every different industry, background, race, gender, experience level, and I've seen results no matter who you are. All right? It will be the process. All right? It's always the process. Okay? And that process is what we're going to share with you today on how you can implement that same process for yourself and crush this cycle. If any of these hit home today, you're in the right place, right? And today we're really going to be focusing on those portfolio holders that are above $250,000 in nature, all right? Or that are looking to invest more than that, or maybe you've got those assets outside of crypto. We're really focusing on the high net worth today. We're going to be going into some advanced strategies and tactics to help all of you, all right? So here's our promise today. This is what you're going to walk away with. Over the next 2.5 hours, you're going to get a clear strategy for the 2025-2026 cycle. No more confusion. The exact framework for when to buy and sell, no more guessing. The 4 sell strategies we use and we teach here at Collective Shift that it's going to allow you to not round trip. The time-efficient system that takes literally 1 hour a week, not 15 a week, all right? And the confidence to execute decisively and no more second guessing and not having the confidence to execute, all right? And we brought together some of our experts today, all right? These people that you're going to meet today, Matt and Travis, have helped thousands of people, all right, across the last few years investing full-time. Matt's going to come up in just a second. He's our director of research. He leads our entire analyst team. We've got a full team of analysts that are covering the markets 24/7. He's been early in crypto since 2017. He got in Solana at $22. Just known, honestly, he's made me a lot of money, made our clients a lot of money, an absolute gun in the space. He's going to come up and share about where we are in the market right now, the altcoins we're looking at, and we're going to go through exit strategies, all right, straight off the bat. And then we've got Travis, right? He's got a big old stamp in the middle of that screen. I'm not sure what's going on there. Travis is our Chief Growth Officer. He's our performance coach. And he's going to go through all the psychology, the insights, how to master discipline and avoid the emotional mistakes. All right. Travis has just recently joined us as an executive and performance coach. He worked with me for the last 5 years to get my mind right to be able to make and grow capital in crypto and execute, because everyone goes wrong up here. All right. Your head can actually be the hardest thing to win against. All right. And Travis is going to come up and share that. So today's agenda: how to grow your portfolio as a busy investor, the investor psychology, why you need access to the primary markets, where those markets are, how to get access to the tokens before they get listed on the major exchanges, how to build a bulletproof exit strategy so you're going to walk away with your own strategy, and how to avoid round tripping and life-changing profits. Now, There are some of our members in the room. I believe we've invited them. Our members and clients. Let me know in the chat if I can see you. Put a little yes if you're a Collective Shift member. Let us know. I'd love to know how many members in the room. We've got 365 live. We're about to jump into it, folks. Just want to know how many of our members are in the room. Because we do have a bonus session for all of our clients, and that is our top 10 crypto tax tips for our, tax traps for wealthy investors and how to avoid them. Who we got in the room? Hey guys, Nicola. Australian Retaining Walls, welcome. Mr. Drades, welcome. Hey Georgia, good to see you. Fantastic. Right, so our clients, we do a lot of these sessions more regularly, all right? And this today is obviously one that we're doing for free, but for all of our clients, just to make sure you guys know, today we're going to go through a lot of these insights. Only a portion of what we covered today is what's delivered for our clients, but we've got that bonus session for all of you coming up soon. All right, hey James. Hey Jamie. Cool. Fred, great question. If you have to jump at any point, there will be a recording. All right, the recording will be only up for a few days. I just want to make sure it's very clear, though, at the end of today's session, so about 2.5 hours, I'm going to share with you how to work or how you can work with us. We literally only have 10 spots for our Platinum program, then we're closing that group, right? And I do not know when we'll open that group up again. So we're only taking 10 people. So if those 10 spots are filled, that's just going to be bad luck, I'm sorry. If anyone wants to learn a bit more about that before then, I might get some of the guys just to drop a Calendly link in the chat. If anyone that just doesn't even, doesn't want to listen to this, just wants to go straight to the source and be one of those 10 people, we'll just drop a link in the chat. Otherwise, we'll get to the end where I'm going to share all the program, how you can work with us, all the exclusive bonuses we're going to throw up for all of you in a second. I just want to say though, the time is now. This next 12 months is going to be everything for crypto. I want to make sure you have everything ready to go today because the time honestly is running out. All right, we believe we're on a cusp of what is going to be a huge bull run. We're already halfway through it. This next 12 months is going to be huge. And by being here today, you're going to be joining the 90%. All right, you guys ready to go? Let me know in the chat. Fired up, ready to rumble while we bring up Matt. Let me know in the chat. It looks good, cool, fantastic. Only 400 live, epic. Oh, Matty's just there he is. Yeah. How are you, mate?
Very good, very good.
Do we need to switch these over? Or are we good?
Going. No,
awesome.
Keep going. I can undo that.
Awesome. I'm going to hand this over to you while I stand here. And
lovely. Let's get into it. Pleasure to be here, and thanks everyone for joining. And as always, as Ben did just say, we do think there is a long way left to go in this bull market. So we'll get into some of the reasons for that in our upcoming presentation, and we'll get into some altcoins as well that we believe still have a long way to go. So to get into the slides here, where is the cycle top? It's the most common question I've been getting, and the team has been getting at Collective Shift for many months now, and particularly in recent weeks amid some pullbacks that we have had. As you can see on the chart here, a very oversimplified chart, but really it's often saying crypto and Bitcoin are very cyclical in nature, or have been to date. You'll hear this term, the 4-year cycle, thrown around a lot. And as I often say with members, the 4-year cycle for Bitcoin in terms of its price, performance, typically does tend to go in 4-year cycles. It really has only happened 2 times in the past. Some people would argue, back in 2011, 2012 was when it first started. But for all intents and purposes, there weren't many investors in crypto back then. So I feel comfortable and have always, as an investor, sort of written that off. And really the crypto markets in many ways did start from around the time Ethereum did launch. So what I am saying here is we've had 2 4-year cycles to date. We're currently in the 3rd one. And that is why many people are starting to worry and be anxious about, hey, are things wrapping up here? Are the curtains being drawn on, this bull market in both Bitcoin and broadly the crypto market? As you can see here on a great dashboard from Check on Chain, you can see the duration of, I suppose, these bull markets that we have had recently. So these are the past 2, including the one in black is the one we are currently in. As you can see on the slide there, the black line is 1,063 days since the cycle low. So think back to November 2022 in the aftermath of FTX collapsing. Bitcoin did wick down to around $15,000 US. If you go back to the 2 prior bull markets, the blue line there, 1,058 days from cycle low to cycle high. Similarly, the bull market prior to that, 1,067 days. So again, I think way too many investors are reading far too much into a sample size of effectively of 2. Yes, this is the 3rd time it's happening, and people are starting to now get a bit anxious and query, are things over? In the next few slides, I hope to, present my case at least, and why myself and the research team at Collective Shift individually still have our individual portfolios heavily, I suppose, placing our bets and putting our neck on the line that we do think this bull market has plenty to go. So effectively, this whole idea of a 4-year cycle, in our belief, by the time we get into 2026, a lot of people, I think, will be accepting of this argument that the 4-year cycle is dead, which is what I'm willing to put out there. So the question then, are we too late? Or are you too late if you're out there, just getting started in crypto? We have a lot of wealthy investors at the moment actually joining the Platinum membership with diversified portfolios in real estate, stocks, and wanting to get some exposure to crypto. And personally, I still think it's an excellent time to be getting some exposure to crypto, despite all the calls for this cycle, being over. So I don't personally think things are too late. And for that, why do I think that? Several reasons. The whole notion of this time is different in crypto is something that you hear a lot, and people always shy away from that phrase. But again, I'm confident enough to go out there and really, I guess, stick my flag in the ground and my belief that this time is different. And I think it's quite obvious, to be honest. I'm not shying away from what seems to be the consensus of everyone sort of scared of this idea that this time is different. Out there, be comfortable with this argument, because there are some clear reasons why. Up on my screen here, you're seeing something that didn't exist in prior bull markets, or at least did not exist nowhere near the extent that it does today, and what I think it's still going to have an effect in the years to come. So what I'm talking about here is simply new sources of demand for Bitcoin. You can see here next to me, Michael Saylor and Strategy, formerly known as MicroStrategy, the likes of Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager. Both of them, like in their respected entities, have been accumulating just an unprecedented amount of Bitcoin. When you go by percentage terms, we have ETF issuers as well as these corporate treasuries such as Strategy. They have now accumulated 12.5% of the overall Bitcoin supply. And they are increasing that percentage every week that goes by. And I think there are some reasons why that percentage will even ramp up even more aggressively into 2026, which I'm happy to get to a bit later. BlackRock accumulates Bitcoin on behalf of their customers, essentially, which are people out there and institutions out there purchasing the BlackRock ETF. There are various other ETF issuers such as VanEck and Bitwise, but BlackRock is by far the biggest. So again, they're not buying as a strategy for themselves, but they are absolutely buying as a reflection and to keep their ETF, I guess, one-to-one paired with the instruments that they are offering. And ETF accessibility is one of the reasons why I think this chart goes more aggressively. But zooming out, the overall question of are we too late? This absolutely deserves some recognition. And if you're going to argue to me, hey, this time is different, hey, that's too dangerous to sort of argue that, well, I question, well, look at this chart and look at this new factor of demand that we now have for Bitcoin that simply wasn't around in years prior. This here is a chart from Michael Howell, a very well-known figure in the macro space, who is him and his team do some world-class work at tracking global liquidity. And they have, again, run some studies and some analysis of, okay, what is driving, or what is Bitcoin most correlated to over time? Global liquidity, as we've been saying for years now, is arguably the biggest driver of Bitcoin's price. So global liquidity is a very sort of broad metric. It changes based off various things such as central bank balance sheets, the strength of the US dollar, and other metrics affecting the credit markets. But overall, if that orange line there is going up, in other words, if global liquidity is trending higher and is favorable, Bitcoin historically and crypto have absolutely loved those conditions. And thankfully, that orange line is continuing to trend higher, and I think it will going into 2026. So again, anyone who's arguing, hey, I think I'm too late, the 4-year cycle, blah, 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 to those people, again, I suggest have a look at the chart I just showed you previously in terms of ETF issuers, Michael Saylor and other Michael Saylor copycats. Plus, we have global liquidity conditions being very favorable, which is something that did not exist at the end of the 2 prior bull markets. So I'll say that again. At the end of the 2 prior bull markets, the macro conditions were very unfavorable for crypto, and understandably, crypto really sold off heavily. So again, we're at the end of 2025, we're getting towards the end of 2025, people are calling for the end of the cycle, but they're also ignoring the fact that this chart behind me is extremely encouraging. So again, just to summarize on the screen here, what really that chart behind me was saying, just to drive it home, I think we have several, sort of reasons or factors that are contributing to liquidity conditions improving through year end and into 2026. I won't go into all of these, but you can see them all behind me. They're all essentially pointing to the same end outcome, which is liquidity conditions improving. So again, we do a lot of work on this as an analyst team at Collective Shift, in addition to the broader crypto market and various altcoins. But for those reasons, again, I personally have not even considered, selling any of my portfolio, even despite the recent volatility that we have had. Gold has been very topical of late. We've seen gold spend about 15 years or so between 2008 and 2023. It more or less was chilling out between $1,000 and $2,000 US per ounce. In recent weeks, as many of you are aware, we've gone on about an 18-month run of gold essentially doubling, going from 2,000 to above 4,000. So again, it was asleep for much of the 2010s. It was always sort of a joke among the crypto crowd of gold not really doing much, but now it has woken up. This cycle, interestingly enough, gold has been very correlated with Bitcoin on a 40-day lag. So again, you can really nitpick with these numbers. It was more so just something that I did find when I was looking through various analysis out there. Someone had sort of seen this shorter term correlation that whenever gold tends to go on a run, Bitcoin tends to follow it, at least in the previous few years, in about a 40-day lag at a 92% correlation. In other words, gold has gone on a very strong run in the past couple of months in particular. And so if that pattern is to remain, then I guess that alone will be a big reason why we see Bitcoin breaking through all-time highs very soon. So again, I would never encourage anyone, and I personally would never invest based off one chart like this. You do see people nitpicking these and getting very, I guess, delicate or very selective with these charts. But I suppose the zooming out, the main picture here is that gold has gone on a very strong run, and history would suggest that Bitcoin does catch up sometime soon. In terms of altcoins here, we do have a number that we look at Collective Shift. And what I would say in terms of this time is different in crypto. I've spoken about Michael Saylor, Larry Fink at BlackRock. I've spoken about global liquidity. Another very, very big difference this cycle has been altcoins generally. There are people who are very new to crypto who still ask me what altcoins are. They're simply any cryptocurrency that is not Bitcoin. So there are thousands of altcoins out there, and their performance has been very lackluster so far this bull market. You can see on the screen there, the Others index. So Others is simply an index that people use as a proxy for altcoin performance. It's the top 10 cryptocurrencies. It's a whole global crypto market, and then you deduct the top 10 cryptocurrencies, and you can see their altcoin performance is still down about half of where it was in the craziness and the, I guess, just the COVID era where everyone had stimulus checks and people were spending at home on their laptops. We're seeing still Others down 50% from 4 years ago, which is wild to think about when you look at how far Bitcoin has come. Even last year, after the election, we saw that really strong run with altcoins. The Others index is still languishing down, I would say, about 40% from those heights that we saw at the end of last year. So all that to say, if you've been just a casual crypto investor so far this cycle with scattered portfolio, we get this a lot when we talk to new members in particular. A lot of them come to us with holding these sort of laggards or these sort of relics from the past in terms of altcoins that they are hoping that will eventually go on a solid run, even though they haven't for several years. And something that we work a lot with clients in is just giving them our analysis of those really old altcoins that they're holding, because as the chart behind me shows, there's no longer, the days are long gone of crypto, of you just scattering your portfolio and throwing darts at a dartboard and hoping that all these altcoins catch a bid, which certainly it was on easy mode back in the day. But now people, A, don't have time for it, B, don't have the knowledge to actually dive deeply into these projects and understand which ones are more likely to outperform than others. I'm proud of the team here at Collective Shift and always hungry to look for more altcoins, but I am proud so far of 2025 in particular. The altcoins that we have held in what has been a very rough year for altcoins have broadly outperformed Bitcoin as a collective. Some of them, sure, there are always ones that will underperform, but we talk a lot about sizing and portfolio allocation as well as a team. And again, that is something that I'm proud of when you look at the likes of Syrup, even ETH has really rewarded long-term holders. Hyperliquid has been one of our favorites. And again, going back to the tariff, tantrum in early April, Liberation Day, here are the returns since then. We can see, some that we like, even the likes of Sui, underperforming BTC and others. And we're realistic. We're not going to say every single investment that we have is 100% because that person or group just simply doesn't exist. But I am very proud of our team, has been very much outperforming not only Bitcoin and the overall market. In terms of altcoins that I'm still very confident on through the remainder of the bull market, I simply cannot take my eyes off Hyperliquid. I have been trying to find other altcoins, and the team is doing that every day, looking through and trying to find the needles in the haystacks. But Hyperliquid, I continue to come back on as the altcoin that I have the most conviction in moving through to the end of the bull market. Yes, it has run up a lot, but even with that, I'm still very confident it continues to go. And I personally will be looking to add to it very soon. The reasons why, for anyone unaware, Hyperliquid started off as a perps platform or perpetuals. So they specialize in essentially derivatives trading, and that's their bread and butter. They are expanding beyond that, which happy to elaborate in the questions. But to really keep it brief, Hyperliquid is a rare project in crypto that does a combination of two things. They earn a very large amount of revenue consistently, and B, the second of two things, they actually buy back and use the vast majority of that revenue to buy back the native token off the open market. So there are several projects out of the thousands of cryptocurrencies out there. There are several examples of ones that do one of those two things. But often you'll find in crypto, the revenue that these various protocols make is often leaves a lot to be desired. So even if they do buybacks, for example, a lot of the market, it barely is any price sensitive at all. And often you'll see just no impact on price. Hyperliquid, thankfully, has a lot of upcoming catalysts that I believe will take its already sort of top ranking lead in terms of revenue generation. It's always among the top sort of 3 or 4 protocols on a daily basis. They earn and they bring in between $1 to $3 million US in revenue per day, all based off fees. And then they use the vast majority of that, as you can see on my screen there. So what I do like about Hyperliquid, they do have upcoming team unlocks, which is sort of, I think, spooking the market a bit. But for me, I personally am not getting too flustered by these upcoming unlocks. I think the market is sort of reading way too much into it personally. And I think the team will strategically offset those unlocks with some really big value accruing announcements. So thankfully, Hyperliquid isn't just a perps platform. They are expanding into other, I suppose, a smart contract optimized blockchain similar to the likes of Solana, Sui. That is slowly coming along. And they're also expanding their spot market. So not just being a perps platform any longer. So various growth drivers for Hyperliquid, which is why, again, in my portfolio, I'm looking to even up my percentage allocation to hyperliquid. And it is really reflective, I suppose, of where crypto is at these days, where the actual businesses that are standing out, essentially, these are on-chain businesses. You can look at them that way. Those are now starting to get recognition by the broader investor community. And it's great to actually see their performance actually breaking out of the trend of Bitcoin and other altcoins generally, because it is a reflection of the altcoin market coming a long way, where previously when I got started, that wasn't the case. So again, looking at in hyperliquid in a bit more detail, even if you were to conservatively assume no further growth, which, I think is quite ridiculous. But if we were to be conservative here, 1.2 billion in annualized revenue, they are currently, on track to earn. And these are always dangerous when anyone talks about annualized figures, particularly if it's over multiple days or weeks. Thankfully, with hyperliquid, they have several months of data to, I think, a lot more confidently, bring out these annualized figures. But it's hard to wrap your head around this protocol being 2 years old, essentially, and really only, I would say, a year and a half, even a year between everyone or the broader investor community knowing about them or starting to know about them. So when you see those figures, it is quite astounding, and it really speaks to, I think, further growth for hyperliquid moving into 2026. So I might get Ben back up here when he is ready. We'll talk a bit about sell strategy, because something about Collective Shift that I think is one of our points of difference is the fact that we actually focus on the other side of things, right? We get so many people, YouTube influencers, TikTok people telling you what to buy, even when the bull market is, in our opinion, like getting right top signals everywhere. They are incentivized. They're incentivized to continue to just promote, hey, buy this altcoin. Meanwhile, and people and teams like Collective Shift, we put a lot of work into actually monitoring for top signals and sharing our own sell strategy.
I mean, when you're crushing it as much as you are, mate, you've got to have the sell side, right? Because you are making too much money. So
Exactly.
No, that's awesome. So yeah, I'd love to get into it. Maybe in the chat, if we could get a quick, just give us a yes if you've got a sell strategy sorted, or no if you don't, or maybe there's another word to describe where you're at on the sell strategy side. I think that's been the biggest thing for us, Matt. Like, when I started 9 years ago, when I made, basically went from nothing to 100K, lost it all, is because I just felt that the market was going to continue to go up forever. And I think that's what happens in the most euphoric periods of a bull market, is that you end up just thinking that that's going to be, the bull market is just never going to stop. And I think the euphoria and greed takes over. And Travis is going to come up soon and talk about the investor psychology component of this sell strategy. We're going to go through the 4 stages of building out the portfolio, the sell strategy, because I think another thing that people forget is that the top of the market lasts for so little, right?
Yeah.
And I think we've got some charts to shut up. But there's people, no, Ben, no, Lizzie, sort of, Kristen, not a good one, Paul, no, okay, slowly DC out, Varun, no, okay, I mean, look, it's I would agree that it's the hardest thing to build and hardest thing to execute on, isn't it?
Yes, a lot more than buying.
100%. And I think for me personally, I've taken 2 large profits out recently. So I'm just going to speak from experience. When the biggest, exit I took was back in the metaverse. This was back in 2021. I took out some of the coins up 20, 30, 40x. I was taking out hundreds of thousands of dollars at the time. It was a sickening feeling. Like, because the market in the moment when you need to sell is the most euphoric, right? It is the peak of a chart is literally a green candle like this, and you think you're going to be, living on a beach for the rest of your life. That is the hardest part to sell, and everything in your body is telling you not to sell. The reason I was able to sell and take literally life-changing amounts of money was because of the exit strategy that we'll go through in a second, but then the accountability as well. And I think that's one thing that I think a lot of people forget, is that you need to, once you have an exit strategy, even if you do have one, it changes too, right?
Yes.
What we say today could be different tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. Strong opinions, loosely held, is something we try to, drive home and really preach about. For good reason. In crypto, it is extremely volatile, which I'll get into soon on the backdrop here. When people get into crypto, their expectation is to be a genius, and that chart's not coming up there, but really I could just explain it in terms like, people think I'll have plenty of time to sell. This chart was going to show really the previous bull market when we hit, I think, 69,000 US. If you were to sell within 5% of those all-time highs, you had 3 days to do it. So you've waited years.
It's Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Bitcoin, yeah.
You've waited years.
Great. And at that point, not only have you waited years, you're feeling the best. You're the most confident, right? Because you're like, I'm rich, I'm loaded. You're walking taller. Like, look at me. This is where the screenshots start, right?
Yeah, exactly. So again, if we bring it back, all right, a bit more realistic, 10%, you got 16 days. So a bit, if you've done that, you've done very well. If talking about a multi-year bull market, and then of course 33 days to get within 15% of the all-time highs of Bitcoin. So again, that's just setting the expectations there. Meme coins, as many of you would know, a lot more volatile. If you were to do Dogecoin's, price topping from the last bull market, have a guess of 5%. 5%.
It was, I think it was like 3 hours.
It very likely was. So not just like 1 or 2% wick. It wicked up, and on the same day, in less than a day, probably half a day, 4 hours, 5% already down. You had 1 day to get within 10% of selling it. You might have held it for many months, and all of a sudden you got 1 day. So again, just driving home the point that it's crypto, meme coins especially, are very volatile. Altcoins extremely volatile, and Bitcoin compared to, well, obviously real estate and stocks, also extremely volatile. So we need a plan.
We do. And I think the other thing to say as well, Matt, is like when investing in these altcoins and even just crypto in general, I think what I see when I work with clients one-on-one is that they're imagining they're just going to sell the top. Like, I'm just going to sell everything at the top. And that in nature, just selling the top is actually so hard in practice. In fact, it's quite next to impossible in some respects. I think the exit plan is something that we've worked on to try and keep it as simple as possible. And we're going to share that in a second. But I want all of you just to know that the further down the altcoin list you go and the more altcoins you have, the harder it is to execute. That's just probably the biggest one to remember. But let's jump into it. Yeah,
sure. So getting your house in order, we'll talk a bit about that. But sell strategies to match reality, as you said, really unrealistic expectations, selling the top. So some sell strategies, some actual things you can put into practice, that we sort of share with our members. Dollar cost averaging out, as I think was said in the comments, is a very popular one. People talk about dollar cost averaging in is a very way to mitigate risk, and the inverse or reverse of that is true. Dollar cost averaging out, mitigate risk, mitigate sort of volatility, and just make sure at the end of the day you do sell, which is what these sell strategies are all about. So pretty simple there. What is it? It's just choosing multiple weeks, or if you go into it monthly or every 2 weeks, every week, just selling some percentage of your total holdings, and sticking by that no matter what. So sort of set and forget. This is also an extremely common sell strategy. So we're talking about setting price targets and then selling based off when those targets hit. The very tempting thing to do here, of course, is to upgrade those targets when things are feeling euphoric. So again, realizing your own investment goals, whether it's buying a house or something else, understanding what you need to get, and then waiting for that to happen, regardless of how the market's going at the time, making sure you actually follow through. So this, I would say, in my experience over the years, is the most common type of sell strategy.
Yeah, I think it's the most basic. I think, setting a price target is like relatively easy, right? You just come up with a number and kind of pick and go from there. I think the hard thing is when the market changes. And I think back to even recently, I took profits on syrup that we spoke about that did 1,000%. I took out my exit strategy for a lot of my altcoins is a dollar cost averaging out strategy. I had market cap prices that I was tracking, but then to actually execute that is difficult because you never really, especially when you're doing things on your own, know whether or not you're taking profits at the right time. And I think that pain of like getting it wrong, whether you get it wrong by missing the top or pain by, not selling soon enough and too early, and then the altcoin keeps rallying. It's painful no matter what. So having the exit strategy is super important, and then following it based on up-to-date data. And I think that's where I see retail investors getting it wrong, is that they just set a target and then just go, oh, that's where I'm going to sell. Yeah. And then they don't know what's going on with the data. They don't know what's going on with the market. Things might change. And then, you're missing out on a huge amount of upside, or, you think it's going to keep running and you end up round tripping. So yeah, it's a good one.
The last one here, or the last one that most people do, is a time-based strategy. So similar to dollar cost averaging, really. It's again, these are big proponents of the 4-year cycle, which, so I would say, at least I would certainly never encourage anyone to sort of go with this approach, because again, my firm belief is the 4-year cycle is dead. But history, I suppose, would have showed that people who were advocates of the 4-year cycle in previous bull markets would have done very well if they were like, hey, Bitcoin will top here, 4-year cycle, I'm going to sell around that. Previously, this strategy, time-based strategy, has done very well. This sentiment-based sell strategy, in my opinion, is by far the most effective. And it is one that also, unfortunately, for the average sort of crypto investor out there, is extremely hard to execute on your own, just because of the time and attention that it like requires. So selling based off sentiment, what does that actually mean? It ultimately means following the market very closely and following outside news and events that impact the market. So in particular, crypto, we're talking about conditions in the global economy, which again, our team is sort of dialed into following things like monetary policy, fiscal policy through various governments, particularly the US, and watching other macro factors out there. That definitely impacts the global, I guess, investor risk appetite. So when we are seeing investors being really risk on, that is a classic example of sort of assessing the sentiment, understanding it in the moment, and then sort of adjusting your sell strategy, as things change, which is frustrating for people to hear sometimes because they want a simple.
They want simple, because they want a simple set and forget, and you can do that, but then you may miss out on the upside. Perfect example is, folks, what has happened over the last week at gold physical bar stores? Lines and lines and lines of people everywhere, people flocking to buy gold. All right, that is I don't know if it's greed, but it's euphoria. It's people getting scared and people panic and go and buy gold at the period of time where usually a market will have a local top. What happened today? Gold's down 5%. What happens with altcoins? Let's go back to when Dogecoin peaked back in 2021. When did Dogecoin peak? The second that Elon Musk walked out on Friday Night Live or Saturday Night Live, whatever it's called, the second he walked out and promoted Dogecoin, the price of Dogecoin plummeted. Syrup, another investment that I got in a couple of years ago. The first time I took major profits, that was 3 or 4 months ago. When did I do that? When Syrup got listed on Coinbase. Why did I do that? Because by the time it becomes the mainstream media, by the time everyone's talking about it, you are too late. All right. And I want to make sure you guys understand this so clearly, that if you are getting secondhand information from sources that everyone else has access to, you are part of the crowd. All right. If you're part of the crowd, you're not winning. Markets have winners and losers. They're driven by psychology. They're driven by investors. All right. And for us, it's about getting into assets before people are positive and selling when they are. All right. And that's easier said than done. But the data and research that we look at, this by far is the best strategy to maximize your returns without guessing and trying to just come up with a random price target and hoping for the best. I'm not saying don't have price targets. We speak about this all the time with our clients. It's you want to have a rough price target, but it's the data that we're going to feed you and the insights about where we are in the market is going to be the most important. Yeah.
I personally have, ranges of price targets, price ranges. And again, strong opinions loosely held. Yep. I'm experienced enough where I know, events are very likely going to change that force me to either sell later or earlier than I previously anticipated, because I can't read what's going to happen 18 months in the future. So that's by far the main sort of sell strategy that we advocate for at Collective Shift, noting that time poor people, and sometimes those other sell strategies are much more practical, because at the end of the day, as we always say, have a sell strategy and follow through with it. Having something is so much better than nothing. But still, time and time again, we have people have a basic one and they don't follow through with it. So again, it's all about just getting better every day as investors. And in the Platinum community, we are really trying to keep each other accountable with these sell strategies. Yeah,
and that's where, back to that term of round trip, for those who are new to crypto, if you haven't experienced a round trip, well done. Hopefully you don't. For everyone else, so most times out of 10, people have been through a round trip. And a round trip is, like I said when I started, you run your portfolio up a lot and you ride it all the way down. Just a reminder of what we just said there, that top of that market is there for a few days. That downward swing on a bear market is just 4 years of or 3 years of just pain and suffering. You did have $1 million and now it's $200,000. All right. You did have 100,000, now it's 20,000. Whatever it is, that pain and that downward swing is so painful. And that's why the sell strategy is so important. Right. And it's what we work with these processes and work with you one-on-one to help you deliver that and build that. So as a bit of a, a thank you for everyone that's, giving their time up today, we're actually going to share with you that 7-step process that we work with our clients. Our clients pay, $15,000 for. It's a PDF template. We'll give away that to all of you at the end, so you can go if you would like to implement it yourself. And then obviously at the end as well, we're going to share about how, like, if you just want to help, if you just want us to kind of just come in and implement it for you and make sure you can follow it along, then that's where we'll share a little bit of that at the end. But man, I think finally, like the exit strategy in terms of timeframes, like we believe this is going right into next year. All right, like we're not saying you're at the time of selling. And I think there's a couple of questions, coming in, Steve. I think just around like the last 12 months, when is profit taking likely to occur? Yeah, we're looking at middle to late next year. All right, but you want to have that plan now to not only get into the right assets, but then have that sell strategy, because you may want to be taking profit sooner. Who knows? That's a really personalized thing. So. I think it's an important thing to note that having that sell strategy, it's not about executing now, but it's having a plan, building the house before having the plans for the house before you go build it. Yep.
Yeah, and there's several things we're monitoring in terms of upcoming catalysts that may change that date. I think a big one is things like who's replacing Jerome Powell, central bank, the governor of the central bank, or chair of the Federal Reserve. Again, people will be like, how the hell does that relate to crypto? But very, very clear in our experience that things like that will very much dictate risk appetite for investors. That's happening around next May. So watching the headlines leading up to that is one of several things we're watching in terms of cycle timing.
Yep, brilliant. Well, Matt's going to jump off for a little break. Thank you, Matt. It's been brilliant. Did everyone enjoy that? Give me a little yes in the chat. Matt is brilliant, super smart fella, and not only from an exit strategy, but like you said, being able to find the right altcoins to grow them and then take profits at the right time is so important. Give me a little yes in the chat if that's been valuable so far. We're about to bring up Travis, our head platinum coach. He's a performance and executive coach. He's going to be talking about how to master investor psychology, because this is the exit strategy side we just spoke about, like actually having the plan, written down the plan, but then how do you execute it? Everyone's enjoying it. Wow, look at the chats coming through. I think there we go. Jason, yes. We've got Steve, yes. Owen, yes. Seth, yes. Amazing. Yeah, Matt is an absolute legend. And, one of the things that, if you'd like Matt's help, if you want him to help you build your strategy and then also execute it, I'm going to be talking about that after Travis's session and talk about, the Platinum program and how we kind of work with clients. I just wanted to mention, I believe someone has just signed up. I think Bradley has jumped the queue, jumped on, and he's just signed up as a Platinum client. So I believe there's now 9 spots left. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I just wanted to share that. Well, welcome along, Bradley. Trav, how are you, mate? You're a local around here, right?
Originally from Central Florida, so I made my way back. It's changed a lot, but we're here. So back in the balmy Florida heat, of all things.
So Travis has been my performance and executive coach for, how long?
5.5 years now. 3 days and 10 weeks, and I don't keep track anymore.
So I've been working with Travis. He's recently joined full-time with Collective Shift as our Chief Growth Officer, but he works with our Platinum clients. He does group coaching, one-on-ones, and also a lot of, mindset stuff around like actually being able to perform at the level of being able to handle the downward swings
100%. And
then take advantage of the upward swings. And you're going to have a great presentation today. So
fantastic.
I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
All right. Let's get cracking into the investor psychology side. So as Ben said, my real intersection and what I bring to the group is this understanding of, it's not just the process. Ben mentioned the process earlier. It's not just the market data that Matt's covered off on, but it's the intersectionality of all those 3 things and understanding that ultimately we can position you. But what we've learned over the years is that if we don't position you with the process plus the behavioral tactics, which are born from research and good evidence base, you will struggle. That's where the community was born from. That's where the current strategy is born from. That's where everything is tweaked together. So I'm going to give you some tactics today. My sessions, doesn't matter where you see me, are never just lecture, and they're never, here's some sales stuff and away you go. You're actually going to get some tactics you can take away and use. I'm going to talk to you about some of the behavioral heuristics and biases that play in this. So if you're not familiar with the biases, some of the cognitive functions that play into it, I'm going to give you that as part of the session. And you're going to leave with some actual tactics to be able to use those effectively. So starting with, there's 2 types of investors in my experience. My humor is not great, so you don't, if you laugh at home, that's fine. If you find it funny, go ahead and thumbs up. If not, I'll just cry in the corner after. But there's 2 types of investors. There's ones like myself who have made mistakes and are feeling the pain, and you can see the pain just in the eyes from time to time, and you go, gosh, I probably wouldn't do that again. And then there's people who lie about that happening to them. And the reality is of what we've seen is that the community helps balance out people who have been through this side of it, and we don't tend to really look after that side of it, because if you can't be honest about where you're at in your journey, you're not going to improve. I've coached executives of ASX 100 and Fortune 500 companies through to frontline leaders, through to our members on the high net wealth side, and one of the consistent things I find is that if you lie to yourself about what's going on, if you don't understand what behaviors are at play for you, we can't help you. That's the reality of it. So one of the things we saw this weekend, even with our own Platinum community, is we're loading them up with content. You know, the Platinums in the chat will know the market took a turn and people are going, what should I be doing? What's the reality here? There's a lot of noise in the market. And so two things happen is we say, first, let's go back to the strategy. Have the fundamentals changed? Has our research changed? Are there new market factors we weren't really aware of? And second is, let's look at the behavioral side of it. Let's look at what's really driving that fear. Because if you can understand the fear and the tactics that play into reducing that fear, that's where opportunity comes in. So I've already covered off on this, but that's the credibility stuff, just so you can believe that I'm meant to be here. I want to cover off on a few things I get. You know, I do a lot of one-on-ones with our members, our Platinums, and that is something you will get access to, by the way, is I do group sessions and one-on-ones. We've got our Sydney event coming up in November, and in that event, I'll be running some of the Platinum circles. I also present on the behavioral stuff you're getting here today, but much more in depth, and our members actually work on that topic. And one of the things I hear is, ooh, kind of sounds a little bit like therapy. Like, I thought we were here to make money. And if you step back for a second, two things. One is that I'm not promising you therapy and deep identity change. What I am saying to you and what I've experienced firsthand is I've worked with AFL players, I've coached executives, I've worked with business entrepreneurs who run multiple companies and been successful, and that's over the last 15 years. And in doing that, the highest performers always had coaches and people who looked after their behavioral needs. It wasn't just they had a process and they ran with it. It was they had a process and they had someone to look after the behavioral and mindset piece of it. So if you think it feels like therapy, one, probably like go actually have therapy and you'll see the difference. And then two, this isn't therapy, this is behavioral tactics to help you improve your investing side. The second is that I just need sell targets. I don't need coaching in a community. Incorrect. Fundamentally flawed. And I have to be quite blunt on this section, because what I found again is that I've spoken to, just in the last month, at least 4 people who have round tripped to the tune of 7 figures. And you go, gosh, what happened here? And they go, well, I had a sell strategy. I was going to sell at this point. I had locked in that sales point. I was going to do it. And then what happened is that target was realized and they just kept going. And then what happened is they crashed right back down and wiped it out. Didn't achieve their goals, walked away empty-handed. In one of those cases, the guy actually walked away. He had done some leverage trades and walked away far worse than he was. I was up to 7 figures and walked away negative, like actually negative equity-wise. So if you look at all that, we don't want that for you. That's why the community exists. That's why the coaching side of it exists. I've tried programs before and it didn't work. A lot of programs give you information and they tell you, take this information and go away and we hope it works for you. Again, the community looks after you in the behavioral side of it. I'm here for that. I do a weekly mindset mastery post. I did one this morning in the chat around fear, and today's topic was particularly around the fear index and how that's playing on people's minds and how it's driving poor investor decisions. So again, something that will really feed into this is the behavioral support and the community bouncing that off for you. And then lastly is I know what I'm supposed to do, I just don't do it. And that's where I talk about psychological infrastructure. Do you have the right mechanisms around you and the right tactics, which is what we're going to get into now. But if you don't have those tactics, if you don't have those sense checks in place, a few things happen. One is you have echo chambers around you. The information that you've always seen will always continue to be fed to you. Our social media algorithms drive that. And then the second bit is that you will seek confirmation from whatever you think you need to see. So if you're going, hey, this must be the end of Bitcoin, you'll go find a bunch of stuff that says it's the end of Bitcoin. And at the end of the day, you use that to make decisions or you use it to just feel better. So we're going to talk about that. Now, one of the things I do like to open up with and talk about in these sessions is that everyone makes mistakes. I've made mistakes. Ben has made mistakes. Matt's made mistakes. Matt doesn't make very many mistakes, but there's been some mistakes. And at the end of it, what I've seen play out over and over is that people just lose their sense of validity and focus. So if you look at Yahoo, right? Yahoo bought broadcast.com. For anyone who's a Mark Cuban fan, that was the big kind of segue into his wealth. And when they did that, what they were trying to do was get in early and ride out this wave of technology and look at, hey, we can actually do broadcasts. This is pre-Spotify, pre all the streaming stuff. And so what they did, which is astronomical, and you can see it here on the screen, is they acquired it. Someone stepped back, and analysts went, wait, you're paying $10,000 per user in 1999. So if you equivalent that now to current amount, it's about 20-odd thousand per user. They spent that per user to acquire the company. You actually could have walked around the street and given each customer $1,000 a year for 10 years and had more customers and been more successful. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for them. But the reality is they had a board, they had analysts, they had consultants, and they still made poor decisions. And what drove that was mania and hype. People were caught up in the hype of this is where you need to be. We're seeing this again with AI. We're seeing this real drive towards like, let's hurry up and get on board. But what does it mean? And what are we doing? And why are we doing it? What's my goal? To just strap AI into my business. What is it meant to do for me? So just want to really highlight here that you're not alone in making those poor decisions. It happens, but it's not just about these scenarios. It's about how you look at the infrastructure in your mind around how you manage that. What are the tactics? What are you doing to do that? I say this often in the coaching, but the market isn't your enemy. Your mind is. The emotional stuff we're programmed to survive with, and I will talk about that. People talk about survival in the markets, but your brain is structured in a way in which you're working against yourself. When your amygdala hijacks and it takes over, prefrontal cortex goes, hold on, I don't have a job to do here, or it's overridden. It's not a lot that can happen unless you've got some fail-safes in place. And what I've said over and over again is that if billionaires and multimillionaires and people we coach who have had 7- and 8-figure portfolios can make poor moves despite all their resources, it just speaks to the human element of what drives this. Now, let's get into the tactics. I'm going to start you with some of the traps. I'm going to ask you to participate in the chat because I'm going to pop up some things there. I'll try and keep an eye on it, because it's kind of off to the side here and you see me moving around. But the silent assassin really is emotion. And I've said this for years in coaching, and then I entered into the high net wealth space, and I found actually kind of holds true. There's no change here. This is the same problem that leaders were having, is the same problem high net wealth investors are having, which is these 3 little demons show up, which is fear, greed, and ego. Now, fear drives irrational, panicked decisions. Hey, I've got to get to safety. Greed drives opportunism. It's, hey, I need more. I need more. That's where that round tripping comes from. And then ego says, I need to be the best, or I need to be the one who can tell everyone how amazing I am. And that drives a whole other set of problems. So we're going to deal with some of the tactics to overcome these. Now, I would be lying to you if I said I could get rid of these for you. Anyone who promises you that, by the way, walk out of the room. Why? Because they're structured into the way we operate. You need a healthy ego to protect yourself. That's self-preservation. You need fear to avoid problems. And greed often is you trying to make sure you've got the right resources and the right things to look after yourself and your family. That can feel problematic. These words seem dirty. Now, if you let them run wild, you will have problems. But if they're not there, you're not protected. So we will balance that out in what we talk about. But your biggest risk isn't often a scam in crypto or even in traditional finance. I mean, we're seeing an emergence in fraud, the tele fraud, and what's happening is they're playing off of fear and they're playing off of uncertainty. And it's not having those things in place to go, hold on, who is this I'm talking to? Why am I making this decision? And what's changed for me in order to move that decision forward? If you don't work through that mental checklist, you're going to be the victim of whatever scenario you're put into. And that's because your brain is going, I need to survive here. I need to thrive here, whatever that looks like. Now, in doing all this work, I put this together a few years ago. This is my model. You can see my weird kind of name on the bottom there. But we use it at Collective Shift as a great opportunity to help people understand where they're at in their buying journey. And so what you'll see here is that often people enter the equation with a bit of FOMO. They're like, hey, what's this crypto stuff we need to talk about? And you can well and truly, I always like when the team mentioned this, but it's, hey, has anyone's Uber driver mentioned it today? And that's not a dig at Uber drivers. It means that it's so in the air that everyone who talks to everyone about it is like, should I be in? What are you buying? What do I trade? Even amongst my own friends, they'll go, hey, what's Collective Shift getting into now? And I'll tell them, and they go, oh, I don't know. Is the opportunity good enough? And I'll go, so the FOMO hasn't kicked in yet. Well, once it kicks in, they go, hey, should I still buy this? I go, I don't know. What's your goal? But the FOMO kicks in, right? So what you do is you invest. You go, I'm going to buy some of this. It's pretty high at the moment, but I'll buy. Then what happens is you obviously buy high. You're buying at the peak. So it reminds me of those financial advice bad TikToks that get reviewed by proper financial advisors. And they look at that and they go, oh, one of the guys says, all I need to do is buy here at the top and sell at the bottom. It's like, oh, yes, if it was that easy, everyone would do it. But what happens is people buy high, and that puts pressure on you. You're like, well, I need to see this gain. And one of the things I've seen with crypto, which is really unique, is that people expect radical returns almost immediately. They're like, hey, I'm now interested in Bitcoin. When do I get 10x? And it's like, well, hold on a minute. That's not how it works. And also, what's your long-term goal? What's your long-term strategy? If you think you can just buy into any asset and immediately flip it for a profit, you're going to lose out. So people get the FOMO, they buy high, and they panic. They go, uh-oh. Things aren't going well, or the market's turned. So we saw this even in our own communities. There was a bit of, hey, the market's down. Other people are saying it's time to get out of Bitcoin. Gold is the new king. Please, all hail gold. I'm like, oh gosh, I've never heard that before. Anytime anything turns the rubbish, people turn back to gold. Why? We have the gold standard. Gold is always going to be around. It's always been a thing. And the other thing people love about gold is they can go buy a coin and be like, look, I'm safe now. It's like, well, no, that doesn't mean that. So what happens is that panic turns to selling low. I sell, I got to get out. Now, because you had this FOMO and bought high, you panicked and then sold low, you have regret. You go, why did I even bother with this stupid crypto stuff? And then what happens is the market returns, it normalizes. Crypto isn't going anywhere. I don't know how many decades it needs to get into before people realize that. We're not talking about tulips here where it was a couple of years and then the bottom fell out. You're entering, well and truly into our second decade of this being mainstream. But people see the return and they go, uh-oh, I'm missing out now. So now I need to buy. So I'm fear of missing out returns. So we see this cycle over and over and over again, but because people haven't really thought about their strategy, they haven't really worked through what they're trying to achieve, and they get panicked by the stuff around them, they just lose over and over again. And I did this years and years ago when I first got into crypto. And one of the things that was really the villain for me was I had it on my phone, and the portfolio would live update, and I get price alerts, and then I had all these kind of sell orders, and I would cancel the sell orders. And this was way, way back when crypto was in 4 digits, not in 6 digits. And I just went, actually, like, this is not healthy. I've got to stop this madness, this whole cycle. So what I want to call out here is the first tactic I'm going to give you along this model here is that you need to pre-write your buy triggers when you're rational and not manic. So sorry, my mic's just popped off here, so I'm just going to pop it back in my pocket. Is to pre-write your buy triggers when you're rational, not manic. So if you're cool, calm, collected, the market's kind of stable and boring, write your sell triggers. Write the thing that you're going to do. Write when you're going to buy. Don't allow the emotions to dictate the action you take. That's where the problem sets in. People go, well, I'm emotional, I need to do something. No, that's your brain trying to get you to emotional safety. It doesn't mean the world needs you to move. It doesn't mean your family needs you to move. So first tactic is I want you to pre-write your buy and sell triggers. Now, that word doesn't say price point. It says triggers. Why? Because one of the things we're very big on at Collective Shift, and when you have your one-on-one with Simon, once you book in, one of the things he's really big on is what's your goal? What are you actually trying to achieve? And people go, I want maximum returns. And I go, that's not a goal. That's an ambition to unlock the best possible financial outcome. But the goal might be a home renovation. So I was recently coaching one of our members and they wanted to renovate their home. And she's like, well, I don't know, Travis, I'm feeling really anxious about taking the money out. So I said, well, let's go back through your portfolio. Let's understand. I can't tell you what to do, but I can help you understand the logic around what you're deciding. And so she's like, I just feel like I'm going to miss out on more. More is the opportunity here. And so we jumped back, we went through her portfolio, we worked through all the kind of action that's happened along the way, and then we worked through her goals and her income goals, and I went, hey, based on what you're saying, it doesn't even sound like you're selling a large portion of your portfolio. It sounds like you kind of need to sell about 10% of your profits. And she's like, oh, yeah. And I was like, also, your lifestyle goal, you kind of only need about 5 figures of each year to take that out of that. And I said, when you look at your principal balance, isn't that like 4%? Of the yield that's coming out of it? And she's like, oh yeah, it is. So the problem is she's looking at her whole portfolio and trying to make investment decisions rather than looking at, hey, what do I need to achieve here? Well, I want to do this renovation. It's less than 100K. I want to take some money out. I don't want to touch any of my Bitcoin because what if it goes up? It's like, well, at a certain point, if you don't take profits, you don't have a goal achieved. What was the point of any of it? Building wealth just to build wealth isn't really an objective. That might play into the ego side of it, but it isn't really an objective. So she did. She took profits. And she said, well, for me, this is the opportunity. She discussed it with a partner and felt good about it. So really important to understand that taking the profits and understanding your goals, both your buy and sell triggers, is absolutely fundamental. So that's tactic one. Now, I'm going to get you off the bench here and get you involved in this because this is a really important scenario. Now, if you've, some of our platinums are here. I have presented this scenario to them before, so I'll ask them to withhold their answers. But decision, want you to make a decision here. Now, if I said to you, hey, you kind madam or sir, I've got an opportunity for you. I can either give you $900 for sure, which is option A, so you can pop A in the chat if this is for you, or B, 90% chance to get $1,000. So there's a 90% chance I'm going to give you $1,000. You might not fully get that, but 90% chance. Which option would you take, A or B? We've got some A's. Got some questions around which one's a good decision to make. Sorry, I can't give that to you. Not yet. A's. Oh, we got some B's. All right, I'm seeing some bravery in the room. Yep. Now, what the research tells us is most people choose to get 900 for sure. This is not me making this up. There's a good bit of research on gamification and people's mindsets during gamification, particularly around risk aversion and opportunity cost and loss. And so what we found is in that research, which has existed for ages and continues to be revisited and revalidated, is that most people choose to get 900. This is the risk-averse choice. But if you step back and think about it, it's like I only have a 1 in 10 chance of not getting any money, but I could get significantly more money. You know, in the scheme of things, 10% more. If I said to you, hey, if you invest this money in the stock exchange, you'll get 10% year over year. A lot of people will be quite happy with that, particularly if it's a fund that you just put it in and there's very low fees. I'm not saying you should be doing that, but that's what's important to be aware of. Now, the reason people do that, this is very measurable, observable over and over again. We run this experiment no matter how many times it happens. So this is the actual gain amount. This is the actual loss amount, right? So they're the same. If you were going to lose or gain $100, kind of doesn't matter. The pain that was measured, so people would say, this is how I feel. We would get them to score the pain versus score the pleasure or the feelings of safety they would get from this. Look at the difference. There's a 2.5x difference in how we feel losses compared to how we feel gains. So the reason, whether you know this or not, in this last scenario, the reason you made this choice is because of the fear of loss that comes with this. Not because the 900 was for sure and it felt good to have $900. It's because you're afraid of losing that additional amount. But what you're doing, interestingly here, and people don't think about it this way, is when I say I'm giving you 900 for sure, you're definitely not getting 1,000. You're giving up $100 right away to feel comfortable. You're insuring your decision by a premium of $100. That's quite substantive against $900. That's not a small amount of money. If you look at that, and that's the reason why insurance companies are quite fascinating nowadays, because you can insure almost any risk and they'll put a premium on it to the point where at some point you could actually have paid more in insurance than I would if I actually had the event that I'm insuring against. So I want you to be really clear, and you can go, look, I'm pretty good at dealing with risk or fear. This is how we feel it on average. 2.5x from a losses perspective. Really important to understand that, because if you don't understand that, you'll make decisions based on what you think is a good decision without realizing it's your brain moving you away from any potential danger. Now, the second tactic that I want to give you is to frame your losses as a learning tax. If you went in for the 1,000 and you didn't get it, you go, I can't believe that happened to me. I'm such an idiot. I should have just gone for the 900. But in hindsight, if you had won the 1,000, you would have gone, you know what? I'm a genius. That was such a good bet. There's only a 10% chance of not getting it right. Well, who wouldn't take that bet? And then the next person comes along and they make a decision. You would use your success or failure to judge their decision, which is not fair. There's a bit of a learning tax here. So you might get it wrong and you might go, you know what? I think at the end of the day, I still made the right decision based on the probability of that, and I'd do it again. And the average person will look at that and go, yeah, but it didn't work. So why would you do it again? It's like, yes, because that 1 in 10 times it didn't work. But when we repeat again, the probability is always going to be 9 out of 10 that you will get what you need. 9 out of 10 is a great opportunity. Like I said, you may not love the way that sounds, but that's the reality of the psychology of how you make decisions as an investor. No matter how pragmatic you think you are, we use these rules to make decisions. We all do in all aspects. Now, the third trap I want to talk to you about is this recency bias. We saw this over the weekend. We've seen it in the last couple of weeks. People go, hey, what's happening right now has never happened before. And it's unique this time, like Matt and Ben mentioned earlier, but also the pain now is different. It feels really bad. I'm concerned. And we can see the fear index. I like to monitor the fear index, and it goes from if you're not familiar with the fear index, you can go on CNN. They tend to host a live version of it where every day they measure it, and they look at things like investment, sentiment in markets, consumer data, and it goes from extreme greed all the way to extreme fear. At the moment, we are just at the door of extreme fear. Fear levels are incredibly high at the moment. And so what that means is people are looking for things around them that are happening right now that are safe. When you're in danger, you seek comfort. Comfort comes from data for a lot of people, or what people around me are saying. That gives me validity. You have to be careful of that. So in altcoins, we see the same thing. People are going, oh, there's some movement here today. I'm going to get in on that because that happened with a different coin, and that's how it was won. It's like, yeah, but again, that was your 1 in 10 or 1 in 1,000. That wasn't your 999 of 1,000. So the tactic I give you here is to explain why what you're about to do, whether it's good or bad. Why is that a good decision? Not why was it good? Why was the data this weekend says I should do something? Well, does it? Or is that a blip? Are you zoomed in too much? So often I will talk to people and they'll be zoomed in just here. And they go, it's so painful. And then tomorrow it's green again. And they go, oh, right, I probably shouldn't have done that. I should have given it some time. People make very large decisions, which should be macro decisions based on micro data. They will zoom right into a point in data and go, that's it. That'd be like me putting a question in the chat with there's 560 of you at the moment, whatever, it's 524. And one person responds and I go, Ben, that's the answer to everything. It's just what that 1 in 524 has said. Too small of a data set, too zoomed in. So that ability to zoom out and think is absolutely critical. Now, if your investment thesis is that all investments go up, you might be part of the liquidity events that are happening. So I'd say be careful of that, but force yourself to explain why this is happening. Force yourself to reflect. And then this is one there isn't really a term for this, so I've kind of given it a mix of terms based on what I'm seeing happening. So trap 4 is this echo chamber, externalized self-soothing. So echo chambers we're familiar with. That's a real concept in psychology. Echo chambers are essentially your Instagram or your Facebook feed. You spend so much time in the algorithm, it just keeps giving you what it thinks you're interested in. And even Instagram now, you may not have noticed this if you spend a lot of time in Instagram or LinkedIn, but they don't show you who you follow. They show you what they think you're interested in. So you could follow someone and never see them again because Facebook goes or Instagram goes, don't really think that's your bag. So I'm just going to keep showing you the other stuff. Now that echo chamber can be paired with what I call externalized self-soothing. So self-soothing in human development is a healthy practice. So if you are feeling a bit blue on any particular day, or if you're overly happy for no reason when you shouldn't be, and people in the room are a bit somber, you're able to calm yourself down and soothe yourself out of that emotional state. That's healthy. But what people are doing, and I see this a lot in some of the members I'm coaching and in some of the community chats, is this externalized versions. I don't know how to calm myself down, so I'm going to hope that the world can offer me something to calm me down. Now, if your echo chamber around you is just fear and fear driving, and it's all political, and it's all meme stocks, and it's all just stuff that's completely unhinged, well, you're not going to find that soothing. You're going to find more mania and panic. So what I'd say is to surround yourself with people, sources of information, news, research that's all credible and aren't people who just respond to the moment. They have a broader and a longer term view. So many people don't do that. You know, the amount, if I say to you, hey, show me what you're worried about, and then show me your news feed or your news sources, and I can tell you why you're worried about that. Instead of going, actually, there's some smart people around me, why don't I ask them? Or the person who's not panicking, let me ask them why they seem to be pretty calm. It's the same with family members. Sometimes people will make decisions and they'll decide that they're going to run it by a certain family member or friend because they know that person will agree, rather than going to someone who might disagree but actually has a good reason for it. This is what we want you to focus on here, is just not externalizing that self-soothing, and you do that by finding good sources of information. So if you didn't do much else from today, I'd say definitely go through your feed, look at your sources of information, and do a massive cull. That's newsletters in your inbox, that's social media feeds, that's friend circles. It's a big thing to do, but the number of executives and business owners I've coached where I've got them to curate the sources of information around them and their quality of mood improves is just astronomical. But you can only do it if you're prepared to let go of some of those things that make you feel better because they validate you, not because they're actually good for you or good for your investments. Now, I'll just ask you quickly in the chat, which trap has wrecked you? So I've talked about that externalized self-soothing through that echo chamber, the recency bias, I'm just flicking through so you can recall, with the loss aversion and being really afraid of that 2.5 kind of feeling that comes alongside it. And then first and foremost was the FOMO, the destroyer of portfolios. So which one stood out for you? And there may be multiple, but what are some of the ones that stand out for you? So I've seen guilty. 2, so loss aversion, yep. Yes, great. Fabiso, sorry, it's very far away. In life, there will always be risks some way or another. That's exactly it. And that's what we were talking about with you risking the premium. Sorry, the things are moving up quick, so can't see everyone's comments. FOMO, yes. Trap 4. Echo chamber, yes. Good, thanks, Debbie. Stephanie, FOMO. Richard, FOMO. Abiso, FOMO, yeah, fantastic. That FOMO bit really drives a lot of poor decisions. One of the things, I might be speaking a bit out of turn, so Matt can throw something at me or Ben can throw something at me if I'm out of turn here. But one of the things we do find is that people tend to overstack their portfolio with a bunch of not so great assets. And we have conversations about that, but it's because of that FOMO. They're like, hey, a mate of mine at the pub said that, this thing's about to go to whatever it is. And then they hold into perpetuity. The number of people, even my nephew's guilty of this. He'll message me, he's like, any updates from Collective Shift where they're bullish on this? And I was like, they have been very bearish on this since the beginning, and that sentiment is never going to arrive, so you should probably sell it. And he's like, but I'm down. And then the next month he'll ask again and he's down more, and I go, mate, you like it. If you would have sold the 6 times ago when you had asked me, you would have actually been okay. But it's that FOMO. I'm missing out on either selling or getting in. Cool. Got a hand wave there, so awesome. FOMO, yes. Loss aversion, FOMO. Cool. All right, I'm going to keep going. So I've given you some traps with some tactics there, but I'm going to give you even more tactics now. So strong mind is true wealth. One of the things we do with our Elevate members, which is not something we're going to really talk about all that much today, but we actually have a multi-year journey that you're not required to sign on to. It is completely optional. We do have a good rate of people who keep going. And what we do with our platinums is we go, cool, wealth is expanding. And we've got this going on in March in our big overseas retreat. But one of the things that's happening is we're expanding beyond just wealth as crypto, looking at what wealth and property look like. What does wealth and health look like? Because we recognize that once you've achieved some of those things, you've got lots of potential to balance and leverage it in other areas. But the best form of wealth you can actually have is the strength to understand, why do I make decisions? How do I make decisions? And what's the emotion I need to deal with it in this particular scenario? The better you get at that, the more you will execute on your strategy and see your wealth goals realized. Now, some people will like this. Smart people don't like this slide. People who are smart and able to admit they don't like the slide tend to like it. So the markets don't reward IQ alone. They reward emotional regulation. So you can have a great strategy, you can have great research, but if you don't have the ability to self-regulate and make good decisions, it doesn't matter. It's like saying, hey, I knew this was going to happen. You would probably have a friend, I have one, but you would probably have a friend who says, oh, I knew that was going to happen. I go, cool, what'd you do about it? Oh, well, that's not fair. But every time it's always, they knew it was going to happen. And the reason is smart and emotional loses money. Now, the emotion might be fear. There's a fear here, so I don't invest. Everything around me tells me I should invest, but I'm afraid of loss, so I don't invest. Or the other side might be, I'm afraid that I will look bad if I make this investment and it doesn't go well. Or I'm afraid if I sell because it's going down and I don't want to look bad when I don't realize the gain. It's a bit like my nephew in that scenario. What is rewarded over time is smart and disciplined. That ability to understand oneself and to go, hold on, why am I panicked right now? What's causing this? Why am I so worked up? What have I been reading in the last hour? What's caused this? Who am I talking to? Why am I worked up? If you can't do that, you will fall into this box. You can be bloody brilliant, but at the end of it, if you're not good at understanding the emotion and making decisions with your emotions, you will pay a premium for that. So first tactic here on the mindset mastery side is to decide cold and execute hot. I told you my humor is not amazing, but I love these kind of things, these memes. So, are you winning, Dad? As they walk into your study at night and say, son, pack up your stuff. I just lost the house. There's red everywhere. And the reason for this is deciding hot and executing hot is poor. And you go, what is he talking about, hot and cold? Yes, in Miami, it is quite hot at the moment. But what I'm talking about is not the weather, but the conditions. So if you're trying to make a decision right now, whether you should go out and buy gold, it's a hot environment. Probably not the right environment to make that decision. You go, yeah, but I'm sidelined. It's like, yes, but we're also seeing a lot of peak-like behavior. If you make a decision now, you might regret it in a week or two. Why don't you give it a couple of days and just hold back? And that is one of the things I say is, have clear rules and then sell strategies, and then don't do it when the market is pumping or dumping. You really want to do that when it's the right time for you, not because it feels feral and you need to jump on the feral train. As Ben mentioned, Reese is one of our great team members. He's available for you after the session alongside DT and Beck and so on. But Reese said to me the other day, he was like, oh, mate, popped down the street and there was a queue outside Sydney's Mint, just waiting for a couple of blocks for people just waiting to buy gold. And I go, that's absolutely unhinged. Absolutely unhinged. And then today, what's the headlines? Oh my God, gold panic sellers, everything else that comes with it. Why? Because some people would have seen the line and they would have gone, I got to get in on gold. They're hearing gold, gold, gold everywhere. That's hot. Don't execute then. Wait for the right time. Now, if you've got all the data that tells you this is a good opportunity and you've done that before you've been emotionally invested, great. But please do not go, I'm afraid I'm going to miss out. Let me build the data to validate my decision and my fear. That's not how you win. It doesn't work that way. Now, the second tactic is emotion naming. People don't like this because they think it's a bit cheesy. Cheesy doesn't bother me if the evidence is clear. If you think something's cheesy and you don't like it, sorry, but the evidence doesn't change just because of how we view something. But this is a classic tactic. So it's understanding the emotions that are at play here. So this is an fMRI that was used to scan the brain. You can see in particular parts of the brain are lighting up. So in Series A, there's a lot of data here, and there's a study that this actually came from. But in Series A, what you're seeing happening is the person's actually experiencing the emotion. So they'll show an image of a dog running around at the park. And for me, someone like me who's a dog lover, like fantastic. I'd be happy, zones are firing everywhere. Awesome. Like this is the greatest research study I've ever participated in. I get to see dogs all day. Or they might show something else where there's a bit of a car accident. And then you see that there's another emotion triggered. That's not happiness, obviously. So when that happens, these areas light up. What we see in Series B is they then say, hey, imagine you're at the park with your dog and you're having a play. So you can see here, the image of that is quite strong, but I'm still getting similar zones lighting up here when I'm imagining that and I'm thinking about it. Or here they might go, imagine something rough has happened, you've just been called and there's an accident. Even for some of you, that might conjure up some emotions as I'm saying it. I recognize that. Again, not exactly the same strength. This intensity versus this intensity is not the same, but they fire regardless. That's why if you sit up at night or you're sat by yourself consuming information, even if you're not reading the impact of those things to you, you're feeling it and you're panicking. So what we recognize is that, hey, this is cool because we can imagine these things, but if we want to use it for our benefit, what we can do is, hey, how will I feel if I sell this at a 10% loss? Or how will I feel if I queue up outside the Sydney Mint for 4 hours and I buy gold and 2 days later the price falls down? Well, if I answered that question beforehand, I probably wouldn't go stand outside the Sydney Mint. But because people don't ask that, they don't allow themselves to feel that emotion going, oh, I'd feel pretty crap. Like, what a waste of my time. I could have made some money with that time. They will just go ahead with it, and then they'll actually have to experience the real emotions. So here I say is I want you to think about what emotions at play, whether it be the FOMO, that kind of sadness of loss, and I want you to practice that emotion. Not like, okay, I'm going to sit at home and practice sadness. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about imagine those scenarios. Hey, I sit up front of the Sydney Mint. I buy some gold. Next day, the bottom drops out. I'd feel pretty crappy. Okay, well, how does that affect your decision? is that the right decision? If you know that that's a possibility and a likely possibility, what are you going to do about it? How's that going to change? Now, mindset tactic 3 is to look at wins on a micro scale, but not to look at whether you should sell or buy on a micro scale. Now, we tend to, like the person I mentioned, the member who was prepared to renovate their house but wasn't sure if they should realize the profit, we call it taking profits. They were looking at it in this. They're going, well, I'm kind of here on my journey. I'm not there yet. I don't think I've hit my number yet. And I had said, well, what's happened along the way? Help me understand this journey. Well, I used to work full time and then I worked this and now I don't have to do that. And now my lifestyle's improved. Cool, you've had a lot of wins. Where does this take you? Well, it takes me from here to here. Oh, okay. Well, wouldn't you want to realize that rather than going, gosh, I hope I get the rest of the push up here? You can still get to the top if you take your 10% or 20% or whatever it was. For her, it was 10%. She still got the outcome. But if she kept looking at it as I'm not at the top of the mountain rather than there's some base camps along the way, she wouldn't have made the right call. And also, our brain loves dopamine. So if we hit some wins along the way, we feel good. If we wait for one mega win, we can run out of energy or we can panic because, well, I'm never going to get there, so I'm going to sell now. So I want you to think about, like, what's your process? What are some of the rules we've already talked about? And then how do you capture those wins along the way? And then 4, my last one, before I give you a couple other tactics, is to really focus on conviction. If you do research or you work with our team who do amazing research, which they do exceptionally well, I'm a little bit envious of some of their process and how well they've designed that, but you've got the conviction, you have to weather the storm. I see this over and over again. And to be honest, we are here for that. So if you're a member in our Platinum chat, and the Platinums can attest to this if they're around, is that, hey, I'm feeling a bit uneasy. What should I be doing? We will be there to help you. But you have to have the conviction as well. You have to go, my goals are to achieve X, Y, and Z. My goals are to work towards whatever it is. I'm going to realize those goals, and I'm going to stay the course. Not, oh, the waters are a bit choppy. I got to get out. Someone come air rescue me out of here. Doesn't work that way. Not if you really want to build the wealth side of it. And if you're a high net wealth participant on this call, like so many of you are, you know conviction can be easy in some things and really hard in others. And one of the things we find, particularly in crypto, is that conviction falters. So some people sell and then they come back and they go, damn, shouldn't have done that. So we'll share another member's true story with you. So I was presenting at our last member in-person summit. So we run 2 a year for our Platinum members and we run 4 a year for our Elevate members. So 4 in total for them. And I was presenting at our July one, which is one of our 2 that all Platinum members get access to. And it was really quite nice. I always appreciate these moments. But I was running this Platinum Circle, which essentially there's about 20 members. It's an open Q&A, and it's facilitated, but the goal is for members to share things with each other, not just us give you answers. And so I'm doing the behavioral one. I'm talking about some of the topics. And one of the guys, I'll make his name Tony so I don't disclose anyone's identity. He said, mate, I don't have a tactic to share, but I wanted to share a win that I had. I said, oh, okay, cool. What was that like? And so we all can learn from it. He said, oh, it was actually from your content. I said, oh, that's even better. Cool. Now I really want to hear it. And he said, in December, I attended the I attended the in-person event, and you gave a talk about, how will I feel about a decision down the track? And then he said, you also said, hey, what would Travis say was in the room? I was like, oh, I don't remember saying that, but that's cool. And he's like, I woke up one morning, I turned on my laptop, I was taking my business calls, I looked down, and he said, one of my crypto assets was down 30%. And he said, I was immediately going to sell it. He's like, my first reaction was like, I've got to sell this. I've got to get out. I got to stop the bleeding. I said, well, what'd you do? And he said, I didn't do anything, like you say. I didn't do anything right then and there. He said, I went and took a shower, made a couple of phone calls, came back 30 minutes later. He's like, I tried to give myself at least a half an hour, came back, and it was back to where it was. I was like, oh, really? He said, yeah, it was like one of the altcoins just down 30% and right back. He's like, I'm glad I didn't sell because it would have cost me several tens of thousands of dollars for a essentially 30-minute window of mistake. So you have to have the conviction. And when you don't have the conviction, you have to lean on these tactics we're giving you. This is why, again, at Collective Shift, we're super bullish on the behavioral aspect. It's why I'm in the role leading the customer success and the sales side, is because we understand that when you've got the right influence of behavior and the right support for people, they will be successful. And that's what we want for you. There's no point in us doing this. We're not fund traders. We're not touching your money. We don't touch anyone's assets. We're not making money off of ads. There's none of that. We want you to be successful, so you're in a community that's supportive and you stay for years. And it's a reason why we have a 70% in our Platinums retention rate, which doesn't sound high, but for those who don't know, on a knowledge product, the average is 20%. We outperform the industry by a factor of 4. Why? Because we're doing a great job of helping people feel secure and in a community where they're looked after. And of those 30% who don't renew, more than half of them are due to changes in circumstances, or they're finally retiring and just using their retirement. They don't actually want to trade anymore. They've, life circumstance changes. So I think it's a good reminder that the conviction matters, but staying the course throughout the pain of that conviction is absolutely fundamental. So I want you to, again, come back to the tactic I gave you a minute ago, is really think about your rules. What are the things? So he had a rule there. Tony had a rule that once an asset drops and he's about to panic sell, so for him it was above 20%. If anything goes up 20% or down 20%, he immediately holds and just waits to see if it's going to be corrected. So why? Because if he sells now, once it's up 20%, he sells it immediately. Well, maybe it's going to 40 or 60, and he's made too short of a window. He says if it's been really short. On the other side, if it's down too much, he just gives it a bit of time. So he did that and it worked for him. But having those rules is absolutely fundamental. And then, the fifth one is decision journaling. I've done some great sessions with a number of people. I've actually coached a number of psychologists who are really good at what they do. I'm not a clinical psychologist, but one of the things I found even in their conversations is I go, hey, they go, what can I do to change my mindset? I teach people about, cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy, and I use, Jungian psychology, whatever the approaches that they use. Excuse me. And I say to them, how do you track your own decisions? Like, you're in everyone else's life helping them, but how are you keeping track of how you make decisions? And I don't know. I try and make good decisions without emotion. I said, well, emotion is part of it. You do need emotion. You don't want to be emotional, but you do need emotion. And to do that, I said, well, why don't you just use my simple approach for decision making? Now, I have a more advanced version of this, which I can share with members, and I do share more broadly in my coaching. But the core 3 principles to start with are, what am I about to do? What am I doing? Like, what decision am I doing right now? Like, I'm selling. Well, what am I selling? Why? And then next ask is, why am I doing it? Is it because I read something? Is it because I had coffee with someone who always panics about crypto? Why am I doing it is absolutely critical. It's not just what, but why. And then what would change my mind? Could I call someone? Could I hold for a while? Not because I want you to doubt your decisions forever. It's because I want you to make decisions on your terms when you're not emotional or panicked because someone panicked you. And that can only come from understanding, well, why? Why am I about to do this? And what would change my mind? That why did I do that turns into, oh, right, I was chasing a pump with no plan. Those insights only come from having that decision-making process and understanding it. Now, the beauty of this too, which is lovely, that's lovely secondary benefit, is if you decide to sell or buy at the end of that, you can look back at your decision-making journal and go, that's how I make good decisions. There's a benefit to it either way. If you make a decision and the journal stacks it, great. If you choose not to make a decision because of what was in the journal, great too. It's a learning tool. And my big punchline in all this is that discipline, which we've talked about earlier, beats dopamine over and over and over again. The dopamine chasing is obviously a great crisis we're all facing at the moment. Everything is feeding us dopamine hits. That's what we want. There's a big movement away from that, but understanding that dopamine chasing behavior is absolutely going to make you suffer. But these rules and tactics will counteract so much of that. Now, I'm going to give you a bonus trap, which I haven't done before, but I thought, this morning we're working on slides, and I was like, why not throw something else in? By the way, I've got a mountain of these different tools. I don't just dump them on people, but I do drip feed them to the community. And this one's emotional hijacking. Every trap that I've covered so far has one thing in common, and that's that your lovely little amygdala goes, hey, you shut up, prefrontal cortex, I'm taking over. Now, we know from an empirical perspective that when you're in low to moderate risk scenarios, that the prefrontal cortex can do most of the heavy lifting, and it goes, hey, you, shush, be quiet, P-brain. And when people use the phrase P-brain, that's literally where that comes from, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but fun fact is that P brain is because when this takes over, you're basically in survival mode. You're in full fear. You're in full safety needs mode. When you're in this prefrontal, developed executive function side of the brain, you can make good decisions. But when your portfolio drops 30% a day, I can assure you, doesn't matter who the hell you are, this turns off and this goes, hey, I've entered the chat. What are we going to do today? Let's sell everything. Let's buy everything. Now, the tactic is essentially an extended version of what I did with Tony, but 24-hour circuit breaker after any 20% move up or down is a great way to start. You get to decide what those rules are, and you have to decide based on your life circumstances and who you are. But I can promise you, if you allow this to make the decision for you, regret almost always follows. Super useful, right? This was developed to keep us alive. Things are chasing me in the forest. I hear a bush ruffling. I should run. Do I wait and ask questions? No, I run. Because why? Bush equals predator attack. But that's not the environment we're in anymore. Those things still exist, but for the average middle class or upper class person who's high net wealth, you're not facing these challenges. What's happening is your brain is perceiving that to be a predator attack, and so it's going, hey, shush, I'm taking over. So this is absolutely critical that you get that right. Now, before I close off with one final thing, I'll just say, what are your habits and what are you committed to changing? So I'll ask you to just pop in the chat. What was something that stood out for you? What's that something that you're actually going to do along the way? So I did see a few. I'm just going to scan. It's pretty far up. Thanks, James. Great content. Totally agree with Travis. Having a goal of making as much as possible in this bull market is not a goal. It is an ambition only. Fantastic. Glad it clicked for you. Dean, so glad you talked on this subject. Emotions are so much a big factor. Spot on. It's why I'm here. 5 years of coaching Ben, and then he wouldn't let me escape, and now I ride the desk. Fabiso, and life is not a journey, is a process. Biggest lesson I learned. Like, fantastic. You've had some great insights, by the way. Thank you for sharing. Dean, base camps along the way. Love it. Yes, please. If you have any long-term goal and you don't have base camps along the way, you're just going to run out of energy. Now, some people will go the full tilt, but most will not. It's like my wife. She's doing marathon training. She just ran her first 10K race, which is a big change for her. She's not a runner by background, but we set that as the first milestone. Now she's training for her half marathon and then the full marathon after that. She knows which marathon she wants to run, but it's that buildup of, hey, what are the base camps along the way? And she actually had a personal best in her 10K. So amazing work there. Jason, don't make rash decisions. Georgia, yes, that was an awesome share. Thank you. Greg, what's the cost to sign up the platinum membership? Ben's going to talk about that in a second. Sorry, I get thrown off the stage and muted if I start answering those questions. Visa, FOMO presentation stood out for me. Thank you for of course, that's what I'm here for. Stephen, trust in the process is going to be partially data-driven. Yes, exactly. You need the data, you need the trust in the process, and then you need your rules in place. Regina, excellent. Lizzie, decision journaling. Yes, please do that. Lizzie, buy some hype. Okay, yes, good. I don't know that I said that, but cool, good. I know you're joking. Kevin, stay zoomed out. Yes, and Kim, choose the correct path. Awesome. Now, I'm going to hand back over to Ben, but I just wanted to call out that these are only 4 of the 10 plus traps. There's a lovely little diagram I like to share sometimes, which has all the human biases and heuristics that play. There's about 100 or so of them. It changes. The more we learn about the mind, the more that gets added to the list, by the way. No matter how much we think we know about psychology, that space is continuing to evolve over and over. But the gap between knowing and doing is where fortunes are lost. And this is where we win together. It's why Collective Shift exists. It's what we're here to do, is to help solve that gap between knowing and doing. It's that person I coached who said, oh, I want to do the renovation. I'm feeling like it's time, but I'm not ready, or I need a nudge, or I need to understand why I'm afraid of this decision. It's the market meltdowns over the last couple of weeks and people asking, hey, what do I do about this? And us entering the chat and going, hey, here's what you need to understand. Here's what you need to think about. Now, if on the back of all that, we do have the link in there. I'll just ask Josh, one of our amazing gurus of all things. He's got like 400 monitors back here in the corner. It's a big operation over here, along with the team over here at the Move in Miami. So shout out to the Move Miami. If you're keen and you want to talk further about this and or time busy and want to get right into it, there is actually a link to book directly in through Calendly. So feel free to click that link. That's going to pop up in the chat. But there's still heaps of knowledge to come, by the way. Ben's coming back on stage. He's just finished smashing some Miami tacos, and now we're getting back into it. So I'll hand it over from there, mate.
That was awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah, had some absolute bombs there, mate. Some value bombs that were brilliant. Did everyone enjoy that? Let me know in the chat how that was. Give me a little yes in the chat if that was good. If you're finding value so far, we're 535 live at the moment, which is unreal. It's great to see everyone tuning in. I'm about to get into now the last hour where we're going to bring it all together, how to grow your portfolio as a busy investor, talking about some high net worth strategies, and then I'm going to get into how you can work with us if you're interested. We've actually already had someone sign up throughout this process, which is pretty wild. So I think there's 9 spots now left for the program. I'll share all of that very, very soon. We'll do some Q&A. Also, I'm going to share all the bonus exclusives that we have on offer. I might just, Josh, my laptop's about to go flat, man, if you wouldn't mind plugging it in. Thank you. Okay. So, everyone enjoying it so far? Lizzie, awesome, great. Debbie, awesome content. Kim says, great. Steve, yes. Stephen, yes. Georgia, fantastic. That was great. Yeah, Travis is an absolute legend. And honestly, that was the biggest biggest change in my investing ability in crypto was to manage my emotions, because that's where everyone goes wrong. And when I started working with Travis, I was like, oh my goodness, this is helping me in every part of my life. I'm now a better investor, better person, better in my relationships, better in as a business owner, better as a leader, everything. I took me a little bit to convince him to come across, and now he's full time with us, and we're working together with our platinum clients to really grow things and work directly with our investors. And that's why ultimately our community, in my opinion, is the best, because we can't work with everyone. We only have a limited number of spots because we can't give thousands of people this experience. So we prefer to have a closer knit, tighter, more exclusive community where we can choose who we want to work with and then have amazing results together. And that's, like Trevor said, why we have 70% retention rates, which is completely unheard of in our sort of line, especially in crypto. So you're all the most organized and authentic in crypto coaching. Thank you. Pablo, great content. Amazing. Gracias. Brilliant. Okay. Let's get into how to grow your crypto portfolio and how to understand this from different levels. And what I'm going to cover today is the 7-step strategy process. So I spoke about this at the start. The sell strategy is just one part of the 7-step strategy. I'm going to go through all 7 steps. I'm going to talk about why most portfolios fail and the exact framework that serious investors are using to grow and scale a crypto portfolio. I'm then going to talk about the high net worth strategies that I utilize, that I work with our clients that have above $250,000 in their portfolio to make sure you're getting the most out of your capital. I'm going to bring up the whiteboard. I'm going to do a couple of whiteboard sessions just around how I think about investing in my barbell strategy. Plus, I'm going to also talk about how we did a 10x on syrup and what we're positioning in next. And then we're going to get to some Q&A. So first of all, what to do when you're busy, all right? We know a lot of you are busy. You've got career, family, jobs. It's a lot to try and take in. And to try and spend hours and hours and hours like researching crypto and stay on top of everything is so difficult, right? The things that I would break it down to, for me, where I see people have the most success, and feel free to write these down if you want. Don't chase narratives, all right? You want to position yourselves in narratives that you believe are going to be really strong, and you want to position in long term. That's where I got heavy into DeFi. It's where I got heavy into the metaverse before the metaverse really became a thing. But chasing short-term narratives like ICOs, like NFTs, like meme coins, like AI, like all of these like shorter-term narratives is going to be very difficult for you to actually maintain and grow your capital. When you've got a large amount of money invested in the market, chasing narratives is a short-term way to lose. All right. Staking assets where possible. You can start to earn a yield on your assets, especially if you've got altcoins that are high in supply. If you've got Solana, Ethereum, etc., that are producing more tokens into the ecosystem, staking these coins can offset that loss. So you're not actually exposed to the inflation that's happening. Because altcoins are just as bad as fiat currency, in some respects even worse, in the amount of new supply that comes in. All right. So staking assets where possible is important. Cold storage. Just a few years ago, we had FTX completely blow up here in the States. All right. We warned our members, and I'll share a story with you guys later around how we actually warned our clients to get out of FTX before it blew up. You need to make sure you're in exchanges that have good security, and I ultimately would move it to a cold storage if you can. Cold storage is where I like to keep, a lot of my capital. All right. And it's going to give you the best protection and long-term, insurance against your crypto. All right. Invest for the long term. You want to have short-term and long-term strategies. I want to talk about that, but don't overtrade and don't try and become like this high volume, frequent trader. I'm going to probably put it, politely here that you guys are here for a reason, right? You're here because you're not getting the results you want in crypto. Trading your way out of it is not going to get you there, all right? Unless you become a full-time trader and quit your job, all right? But I probably would say that a lot of you are far better at your career, your business, or whatever you do to produce the income to be a high net worth individual, to not become a crypto trader, all right? Because speaking from experience, it's very hard, right? And it takes a lot of time, like a shitload of time, okay? Now, the other thing as well is don't listen to areas and people that everyone else is listening to, all right? You need to have good, credible insights that is giving you an edge against everyone else. If you're getting the same information as everyone else, it's like the stock market, or if it's like, any other market in the world, if you're getting the same information as everyone else, you're going to lose. And this is what I learned when I started 9 years ago, and it's the reason I built the team that I do now. I invest off our analysts' insights. They give me the best data and insights because they're looking at this thing 24/7. They're way smarter than me. I spend $300,000 a month, $3.6 million on my team per year. Do you want to know what my edge is? It's that. I cannot humanly stay on top of all of what's going on in crypto and get the edge that I have in the market. Matt helped me find Syrup, Solana. There's also IMF that we looked at, that because of the knowledge we have and people we know in the industry. You need to get access to these tokens before they hit the mainstream markets, all right? That's the primary markets, and that's what we teach. That's how we walk you through. That's what we guide you through, because that is the edge, all right? What is your edge? That's a big thing I want you to take away. Now, considerations for high net worth individuals. If you are investing more than $25,000 at a time, I would recommend using OTC. OTC stands for over the counter. It's a way that you can get better liquidity and better spreads for your crypto. I would make sure you're using that because it's going to honestly get wiped out. I had a client recently that we work with. He joined up. He had about $400,000 in his portfolio just from moving him away from the exchange he was using to an introduction, because we have introductions with all the best exchanges because we refer a lot of clients to them. We don't take a kickback. We're completely independent, but we have the best deals for the exchanges. He saved $13,000 off 2 or 3 trades just by moving to a better exchange. He's made his membership fee back in like 2 weeks from a trade, all right? So getting the right exchanges and liquidity is really important. Accountability and alerts. Do you have the accountability to make sure you're executing at the right time? Short and long-term strategy. I'm going to talk about that in a second. I had a client, I always remember, Chris. He's a consultant. He was actually between jobs, had $300,000 or $400,000 in his portfolio. He's a dad, had a lot of things going on. He didn't really have a proper exit strategy. He'd round trip before. I set up with him a short and long-term strategy. Very simple, very easy. He hadn't even thought about this before. We set up an altcoin strategy for the short term and then the long-term Bitcoin stack. We set the exit strategy targets. He had the accountability. He sold those coins, the Bitcoin, at the November peak last year based on that exit strategy, paid down his house. He's now debt-free on his property, all right? And now he's still got a long-term stack that we've rotated other coins into, and now is going for the rest of the cycle. He ticked off his goal, all right? And he had an exit strategy that he was able to follow and create long-term, which is awesome, okay? So moral of the story there is have a strategy. You can think about short and long term. All right. You don't have to be all in now, all in later. You don't have to be only long term. You can have higher risk in the short term. It's all personalized. All right. Lending. This is the thing that I'm looking to really do. I think Bitcoin is the asset that you want to be, growing to lend against. All right. As a yield against your Bitcoin to like use as a mortgage backed asset. You can start to, utilize this without selling your Bitcoin. This is what the rich do. This is what the wealthy do. They build assets and they lend against it. All right. And that is really important that, you're able to do that, because that is something that where you're not actually from a tax perspective, and we go to tax and structuring now. If we think about how the wealthy get wealthier is they don't pay tax. Why don't they pay tax? Because they don't sell anything. They never sell. Once you sell, you start taking profits. Once you start taking profits, you got to pay tax. All right. And this is where Bitcoin and crypto comes into to some, good things. So Bitcoin, as an example, you can grow your Bitcoin asset and then you can lend against it without selling the asset. So if Bitcoin's compounding at 30 or 40% per annum, sometimes 50%, why would you want to sell that? All right. You can lend against it, take debt. As long as you can cover the debt with the growth of the asset, you win. Now, there's a lot of risks involved there. I'm not saying, everyone should go out and do that, but it's a strategy that wealthier people do. It's a strategy that I do. And then you're able to actually use debt to facilitate cash flowing that asset without selling it and not pay tax. Okay. You only pay tax once you start to sell it. And obviously you got to pay back the loan. Now, you got to be careful. Obviously, a lot of risks associated, different for different jurisdictions, but at a core level, that is what the wealthy do in every other asset class. All right. Your goals. What are you trying to get to? I'll talk about goals in a second. 1 million, 5 million, 10 million are kind of the core goals that I think about in terms of liquid investable assets. Risk and reward. You want to make sure you're not taking too much risk with the downside. That's one thing that we look at Collective Shift. not sure if I can share my screen, Josh, can I? Maybe not. It might be too hard. But the thing on the risk to reward is the shift list that we talk about at Collective Shift. Like this is the analysts that look at things in our platform. We look at things from a risk to reward perspective. So let's see if this works. Oh, here we go. Look at that. So this is the actual platform that we have. All right. So this is the Collective Shift platform. So we've spent 5 years building this platform out. It's what all of our all of our clients get access to. The shift list is our curated list of currencies that we look at, that we rate, that's live, updated based on our algorithm of risk to reward. All right. So all of our clients get access to this. And this is actually one of the things from our platinum level that we take this analysis and we work with you on a one-on-one basis to fill your portfolio on your dashboard. But once we have these ratings, it's based on risk to reward that our team update, in the back end, but also live updated from our algorithms. You can then click on these coins. All right. And when you're filling your portfolio, you can start to look at the different coins that may fit based on what you need in your in your strategy. So we sit down, we start to understand your goals. What's your risk to reward? And this is where a lot of our clients make the most returns because they're cutting all the crap that they have and they're focusing on the coins that our analysts are covering that we know are continuing to outperform. All right. So what we look at specifically when we're looking at altcoins is, for me, I'm a big fundamentals guy, right? So we're looking at, when we're looking at any altcoin allocation or just any investment in general, the token economics is a huge part of any altcoin, all right? Looking at where the growth of the revenue is coming from. So many people just invest based on speculative hype that a lot of influencers talk about online, and that's okay. Crypto is driven off speculation, but for me, where I've made a lot of money on the downward swing and the upward swing is investing into fundamental projects that have high quality revenue generating protocols that are doing something for society, all right, that is going to balance those downward swings. So if you're in a bunch of shit, altcoins, on the way down, all right, you are going to have a much more volatile downward swing because you're in assets that have no fundamental underlying value. When you're in portfolios that we look at, when we're looking at trying to allocate a lot more capital, you want to protect the downside. Because if you can protect the downside and then take advantage of those dips, that is where you're going to make the most amount of money in a bull market. All right. And that's where we look at from our investment perspective. It's what our analysts look at. It's what our Collective Shift, thesis is looking at these different tokens. Hype is a perfect example. All right. Hype is a different one that had great risk to reward. We invested in a Hype at $22. About $22, hit $60, recent correction back to 36, solid fundamental project. All right. And that's really important. Last but not least is just setting up the sell strategy, the automations, all right, and Bitcoin and property. I'm going to talk about my barbell strategy in a second because I want to talk about how I think about growing my wealth outside of just crypto. All right. So my long-term strategy is really about accumulating Bitcoin. I've taken risks. I've got to this point. Now I'm investing larger There we go. Look at that. We are going manual, folks. You guys still there? This is, there we go. Miami internet, hey? Okay. We're live. Oh, no negative twice. That's right. Hold over here. Okay. What I want to talk about is back to the 7-step strategy process. So I'll see if I can share my screen now. Maybe I can do this. Cool. Okay. You guys can see that. We're back. Look at this. We're going, I'm sorry, Dean. I'm sorry. You guys still there? You can hear me loud and clear? Tabitha, you can hear me, Nicola? We're on the manual vibe. This is the setup, by the way, folks. We got like a whole team here. Professional pivot into No Wi-Fi. I was on a roll there too. Okay, so the next thing is around like my long-term strategy. So it's going to be backwards here, but for me, Bitcoin is able to be able to stack Bitcoin for the long term. I'm not selling my Bitcoin. My plan is not to sell any Bitcoin at all. All right, I'm looking at Bitcoin as the thing that I want to take profits on my altcoins in. All right, so from a short-term perspective, this cycle, this next 12 months, I want to be using altcoins to leverage up and essentially sell down near the peak to then accumulate into Bitcoin. Does that make sense? So for me, the thing that I want to take profits in is Bitcoin. I don't want to sell my Bitcoin. I want to get out of all my altcoins though. All right, if I'm selling altcoins at the peak of this cycle, I know the likelihood of those things going to 80% down is super, super high. So any altcoins that I'm in, I only actually have like 7 altcoins in my, maybe 6 altcoins in my portfolio. The reason I only have 6 is because I want to keep things super simple. And as a larger investor, the more coins you have doesn't equal higher returns. In fact, for me, it's about having conviction. The more capital I can have in an altcoin that does really well, like say Syrup, right? Did 500%. If I've got $10,000 in that and it does 1,000%, all right, it's going to be 100,000. If I put $100,000 in that and it does 1,000%, that's $1 million. All right. People forget in crypto, once you've made money, wealth creates wealth. Money makes money. Once you've got money, it's a lot easier to compound and make even more. Does that make sense? All right. I'm full soloing this, folks. I'm holding a laptop. You guys can hear me, right? Fantastic. I don't know what the audio is like on this, folks. Hopefully it's okay. So when I think about my wealth creation from a cash flow perspective, right? Everyone wants to create passive income, right? Passive income is something that everyone, there we go, we're going to stand now. Everyone talks about like passive income as something they want to utilize to be able to, retire off, reduce their income, like reduce their work, their time of work, whatever they might want to do. Crypto is actually a really hard thing to create passive income on, all right? When you're creating passive income in crypto, usually you're doing that because it's coming through an altcoin, all right? So when you're getting returns, yield, staking, right, these rewards in that altcoin itself, you are losing the ability to actually take that asset out because of the volatility. Right? So let's say, for example, you got a bunch of Ethereum, all right? I would only stake Ethereum or altcoins to earn to offset the inflation of the token, not to actually generate revenue to offset my job. Does that make sense? The reason being is because if you're just earning, let's say you were staking Ethereum for the last 3 or 4 years, Ethereum was down for 3 years. So trying to live off that, you're actually just selling tokens, down because they're volatile, and then you have to live off that, and you're actually just feeding into your stack. So the way I think about it is my wealth creation strategy is property and Bitcoin. So I'm using property now. I've been 100% allocated to crypto my entire life. I'm now using property to generate cash flow. Now you can do this with stocks, you can do this whatever asset you like, but for me, I use property to generate cash flow because it's a much more stable asset and I'm generating cash, all right? Not just altcoin returns in that volatile altcoin, right? And that's where, people make a mistake is getting the returns back on the wrong asset or the wrong coin, if that makes sense. How do I go to the next slide? Okay, we're going full menu here, folks. I think someone else is controlling my screen. There we go. Okay. So we'll go to the next slide as well, please, boys. So the last thing is just to really reiterate, for me, altcoins are something you want to sell at the top of this cycle. That cycle is being in the next 12 months. Like any altcoin for me, if you're not out of it, your downwards period is going to be much more painful, all right? We then want to take those profits and get ready for the next bear market. The next bear market is going to be in 2027, where we want to deploy that cash for the profits we take, then reinvest into those assets. Because the next cycle is where we're going to really be able to take things to a whole new level. All right. The next cycle is where you take those profits and then we re-implement them in the next bear market. My best investments were back in the last bear market. All right. Syrup, Solana, Sui as an example. And we're going to have those same level of investments this next cycle. Josh, can you plug this slide? Thank you. So last but not least, I want to just make sure we understand the barbell strategy. Now, we were going to do a whiteboard presentation on this, but seemingly we've lost all power, all connection. I'm not entirely sure what's going on anymore. We've got The barbell strategy is where I think about my portfolio in two lenses. We've got altcoins on one side and we've got Bitcoin on the other side. You want to balance the risk, all right? You want to balance the amount of capital you have on one side of the barbell strategy to make sure you're not unbalanced. When you have too many altcoins, or when you have, now we've got double audio. Maybe I'll mute that. Can you guys hear me? Are we back? You guys hear me all right? Let me know if loud and clear. I think we got power. Thank you, team. Thank you. You guys hear me? Amazing. We're back. Okay. We're all good. That was completely unscripted, folks. If you couldn't tell. Awesome. Okay. Brilliant. Now I don't know if we can bring the whiteboard up. It might be all too much at this point, but the thing I wanted to share about the barbell strategy, if we get my slides right, is that you want to make sure you're not, when you think about your portfolio allocation, not over-indexing on, don't worry about it, Josh, all good. You don't want to over-index on one side of your portfolio. Where I see investors go wrong is they go too much risk on, they get too many altcoins on their portfolio, and it creates this imbalance. That's why for me, you want to have a foundation of Bitcoin, right? And then offset that Bitcoin with the amount of risk that's not going to tank your portfolio when we have these corrections. Like last week, right, when we had that big, volatile move down, when you're in a lot of altcoins, like some of those altcoins week down 80%, your portfolio is going to be in a lot of trouble, right? So offsetting that risk is really important by getting that barbell right. When you get that barbell right, it's a beautiful thing because you're going to have consistent returns. All right, and that's where my returns have been close to 58% compounding over the last 3 years. All right, is it, getting 1,000% on your entire portfolio? No, but to actually do that is really hard. When you hear these stories of people buying meme coins or buying altcoins and they're doing it 10 or 20x, usually they've only got $1,000 in them. All right, we all like to gamble. We all like to think about we're going to make a lot of money and become rich and wealthy by like betting on some altcoin and going to do like 100x. Those days are gone, guys. All right, and even when you hear those stories, it's usually someone only has put $1,000 in their portfolio, right? So it may have gone to $10,000 or $20,000, but the rest of their portfolio is not there. Some people are very balls and they're going to put a lot of money on the line, but more often than not, when you're at the level that you guys are at in terms of time availability, you want to keep things super simple. All right. How am I going, guys? Dana did well. I should do this for a living. Yeah, I've had a couple of practices. Things going south. Awesome. All making sense so far. I want to get into the 7-step strategy now, folks, and I want to give you this 7-step PDF at the end of this. So if that sounds good, we'll get into this so you can hook in yourself. Amazing. Let's do it. Okay. This 7-step process, guys, is the same process that I've used over the last 9 years, and it's the same process we work with all of our clients that pay $15,000 or more per year to work with us. All right. Kent started with us. He's been a member with us for 2 years. He implemented this strategy and he grew his portfolio $50,000 within a week, straight off the bat. All right. That is because having the strategy can allow you to get the right risk reward framework at the right altcoins and start to buy at the right times. Because if you can take advantage of the dips, that is where you can get really quick growth. All right. And that's where we are right now. Kieran, another guy, he didn't have a strategy at all. Came to us, was down a lot. I think 70, 80%. Had all these altcoins, had stuff everywhere. We simplified it, got the strategy right, got the portfolio allocation right, the barbell strategy dialed in, and over those next few months, I think over 6 to 12 months, got back up 2.5x from where he was. All right, and that's just the difference of trying to do it alone versus just using some data and a team that's got it. Chris, this was the story I just told you guys before, just around how he was able to pay off his house through the Bitcoin. That's the sell strategy. All right, that's one of the 7 steps. So the first thing is, what does your current portfolio look like? Like, where is it? What sectors are you in? What blockchains are you on? So many people don't even understand what blockchains they're on, and they're overcapitalized on one sector, all right, or one blockchain. You need to understand what your portfolio is sitting on, all right? Next thing, what is your time horizon? How long do you have? Are you in your retirement? Do you have a long time? Do you have a short time? Do you need the money back? That time horizon will mean and give you evidence on what your goal should be and the appropriate amount of risk that you need to take to get there. If you're in your retirement, your strategy is going to be different to if you're young and you're just like, you're single and you're running around versus someone that's in a family that's just had kids. It's all different. And that's something that we work with all of our clients. This is personalized. You cannot have a one-size-fits-all strategy. And that's why we've been so successful, because we take all of our clients through this process to make sure they have those goals and the time horizon and the portfolio allocation to match their situation. All right. That's where people go wrong by listening to influencers, because they think what they say is what everyone should do. They have no idea about your circumstance. The shift list I just spoke about, the shift list is like as part of our research platform. This is where you get access to all the token ratings, and this is what helps you with your strategic portfolio structure. This is where we found Sui, Hype, ETH, and Solana, all the different coins that have done really well. We rate them here. And we also tell you what we don't like. That's something that a lot of you probably have, and because I know I speak to a lot of you, that you come to crypto or you've been in crypto for a little while and you're holding all these coins, like Travis was saying, and you don't want to sell them because you're down. Well, guess what? Everyone gets them wrong, but it's those that can push through and move beyond that fear and that guilt of being down and move on because of opportunity cost. And that's what separates the winners and the losers. All right. And that's the edge that we have. The next one is tax and structuring. You can save so much money if you get tax and structuring right. For me as a business owner, if you guys have a business as well, there's different structures you can utilize to use pre-tax dollars to invest. So you're not taking the upfront, tax portion on your personal income and then investing. So you can use the whole 100%, pay the tax later. There's different strategies around capital, losing my voice here, capital gains and making sure you're holding beyond certain periods of time. All right. And also making sure your structures are set up in a way that you can get the best and most optimal capital gain structure that you can. All right. And the thing we do with our clients is we have tax experts and partners all around the world that we introduce you to, depending on where you're at, to get the best advice to make sure you're saving money on the tax when it comes to crypto, because this is where a lot of people get screwed. Okay. Risk tolerance. Crypto investing is super difficult and volatile. And I know a lot of you are probably here because you felt that, that nauseous feeling you have in your stomach. If you overestimate what you can hold and how much risk you can take, that is where people make poor decisions. All right. So your risk tolerance is really important. You may want to take a lot of risk and we can help with that. You may not want to take any risk at all. We can help with that as well. Depending on where you're at, the risk tolerance is really important to match your circumstance, your goal, and your exit strategy. All right. It's all got to be aligned. The buy strategy. How much cash do you have to deploy? When are you buying? How much are you buying? Are you buying the dips? Are you dollar cost averaging? Are you buying altcoins? Are you buying Bitcoin? What are you doing? That is the buy strategy. And it's something that we've helped so many of our clients make good amount of money, especially when you've got large amounts of money. So for those of you, again, today is about high net worths. A lot of you will have cash to deploy. You may want to take high risk investments. Bill is one of our high net worth clients. He's been a member with us for a couple of years now. He's a dad. He's a property investor. He's not a crypto full-time bro. He made $120,000 from a short-term buy based on a higher risk altcoin that we had in the WhatsApp. Now, this by no stretch of the imagination is a common thing. I don't want to make any false expectations that this is just happens day in, day out. This is a situation where they had good insights, good data, they had their buy strategy sorted, and they sold. All right. How many of you have bought an altcoin, watch it go up and then round trip? All right. We spoke about that before. Bill, we had that dialed in. We had it locked in. All right. He was able to make $120,000 off an investment in our WhatsApp group. All right. Paid his collection fee off for a few years. Okay. I don't want to make any false claims here, folks. I'm not saying this is, common, but I'm saying once you have a strategy locked in, you can also get ready for these opportunities that arise. When you don't have a strategy, you're nowhere near being able to execute on this. All right. Your sales strategy, we spoke about that before. How does this change? The exit strategy is something that continuously changes, like everything in crypto. The common mistakes are, I won't go through them all again, is what we covered with Matt and Travis, but the most important thing is you need to have the data to back your decision. What you decide now as your sell target will be different in future. All right. And this is where the 7-step strategy process will help. And it's where the data and insights will help as well, which I'll share. All right. So I'm going to get the guys, if they can, to share just as a thank you. This is the process that we have taken all of our clients through. That's something we work one-on-one with our clients to build out. That is the 7-step strategy PDF. It's completely free for all of you. Well done for seeing this far. I've got a lot more bonuses that I'm about to share in a second. That 7-step process is something you can go in and fill out yourself. It's got resources and it's going to go through all those 7 steps I just mentioned. All right. It's going to be super helpful. No worries, Richard. Now, so what we've gone so far, right? We've gone through a lot. There's been a lot to cover. We've gone through how to grow your portfolio as a busy investor, the psychology around mastering your discipline, like Travis mentioned, and all the emotional mistakes. Why you need access to the primary markets, because that's where the best investments are. All right. That bulletproof exit strategy we spoke about and how to actually those 4 different styles of exiting and planning to exit. How to avoid all the round tripping. All right. And the top 10 crypto tax traps that will be coming for our platinum clients very soon. All right. Few questions for you guys. Just so far. All right. We haven't even got into Q&A and all the rest of it just yet. But so far, do you guys feel more confident with your portfolio? Yes. Give me a yes. Has that time been good so far? You've appreciated it's been good value? All right, you guys excited to have a crack at this yourself, have a go, see what this does? I know, because I've seen all of this be implemented, I know the evidence of how much this is going to help your portfolio. Jason says, yes, Kevin, this is good. Dean, yep, cheers. Stephen, great, amazing. Cool. Even if you just implement a tiny fraction, honestly, of what we covered today, the chances of your success are going to increase massively, okay? So make sure you take that away. Dean's good, brilliant. Got 600 live, folks. This is awesome. We're about to get into some good stuff. We've got a lot of bonuses I'm about to share. Plus, we're going to bring Matt up and do some Q&A, all right? Now you have this framework. You're probably thinking, Ben, this is great, but I'm busy as hell. I've got $250,000, maybe got $100,000 plus. Doesn't matter where you're at. But I'm terrified of screwing this up. I missed 2021, or I've heard of stories, and I can't afford to make the same mistake again. All right? Knowing and doing are two completely separate things. All right? Especially when you're managing a crypto portfolio while working, raising a family, trying to run a business, whatever it is, and trying not to make a huge multi-six-figure mistake is very, very hard. All right? The brutal reality is you're going to come away from this fired up because, guys, I'm not going to lie, I'm fired up. Power went out and we're still powering through the 600 here live. Tomorrow's going to hit though. All right. The kids need you. The partner's probably mad at you. Work needs you. All right. And all that momentum's going to stop. And if you don't have the knowledge of the problem and you're just getting overloaded with all this information, you have a time problem, guys. Time is the problem. No one has infinite amounts of time anymore. And especially for those of you that are doing a lot of, whether it's family, career, business, life, holidays, everything, all right? You have a time problem and an execution problem, right? If you're on a $250,000 plus portfolio, my top client's got $120 million in his portfolio. Do you know how much a mistake will cost him? Even if you're at $250,000, if you make the wrong mistake, if you buy the wrong investment, if you don't sell at the right time, it could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. I know because I've made mistakes in the past and it is brutal. The worst is when you round trip because you've got to wait 4 years and you're just watching your portfolio go down. It sucks. All right, so you've got a couple options. One, all this information is going to be super helpful, all right? But crypto is not static and you can implement it alone and you're going to get a lot further ahead than where you were before you started. So well done, all right? But within days or weeks, something's going to change, right? Content's going to be outdated, things will move. And this is where people round trip. This is where bad decisions happen because they don't have the updated data, okay? The other option is where you get real-time information, updated constantly, one-on-one strategy, all right? Coaching, one-on-one sessions, in-person events, direct guidance to myself, the team, and all the information to help, all right? And this is where we play an active role in your results, right? We actually take a responsibility with our clients because we have so few clients. The reason we do that is because we do a bloody good job and we make sure that they win. All right. We have a personal obligation to make sure you win. Do you think in that situation, if you were to join our exclusive community that we only work with very few people in these cohorts, you got everything that we have, including my team, everything presented, all the shortcuts, the insights, the introductions, primary markets, altcoins, everything. Do you think that success will be inevitable? I think so. It's the reason why we're so good, but it's the reason why we have so many limited spots. All right. So the Collectorship Platinum Program is for people that are investors or professionals with $250,000 minimum, up to $50 million. We do have a guy that's got $120 million. You don't have to have that in the markets right now, but you need to have the capital that you're looking to invest over the next 12 months to get there. You value your time. You need probably 30 to 60 minutes a week, max. You're drowning in conflicting advice from Twitter, YouTube, friends. You've round trip games before, or you've watched others and you're scared to do it. All right. And you want to be part of a high caliber exclusive inner crypto circle. These communities, we've got our mastermind here in Miami on Thursday. We've got the best coming in. These guys, we're not bringing in like full-time traders. These are successful people that you get to rub shoulders with, all right, and work directly with us to get the results. It's brilliant. If this sounds like you, this is not for you, all right? If you're not serious about making long-term wealth, if you're looking to trade, do short-term trading, gambling, 10x overnight, not ready to take action, if you're looking for short-term returns, if you're looking for anything crazy like that, we don't accept everyone. In fact, most people we turn away. This is a very curated, vetted group. All right. The Collectorship Platinum gets you access to all the elite level personalized strategy, support, research, and everything. I'm going to share with you some exclusive bonuses we have in a second. But this is the reason why I won, because I came from nothing, no degree, no connections. I know it's not the person because I learned all this on my own. I went all in on crypto, turned it into 7 figures, lost it all, and built it back up over the last 8 years because of the processes and systems. And that's where I'm up at 600% over the last 2 or 3 years. All right. What made the difference? I made my big investment into the team. $300,000 a month on my team to give me the best investments possible. all right? And that fast-tracked my way to success. I had nothing. My portfolio exploded, became a multimillionaire by 24, all right? And that's where I wanted to share that with others, because I felt if I could bring on a select few people and individuals with me, and they won too, and I only get paid based on their success, and I don't get paid any other way, well, then that is a win-win. If you win, we win. That's how the Collective Shift is built. That's why we're so successful, because we don't take affiliate deals. We don't do paid promotion. We are incentivized and aligned to make sure our clients win. And they know that, all right? No one's ever done that in crypto. And if you're managing a significant portfolio alone, it is more important than ever. This next 12 months is it, guys. You have a financial advisor for your stocks, accountant, a doctor, maybe even a personal trainer, but no one for your crypto. That's what Platinum solves. Now, the proof is overwhelming, folks. Now, I must say, we had 10 spots at the start of this session. There's already 9, I believe. There's one person that signed up earlier on. I'm going to share the link in a second, but I want to make it fair for everyone. We have over 1,100 active paying clients right now. I've been investing full-time for 8 years in crypto. We're one of the top-rated crypto education companies on Trustpilot. We've got countless case studies. We're a research partner of Coinbase, CoinSpot, SwiftX. I'm a TEDx speaker. I've got 120,000 followers online. I speak around the world. All right. And there's so many clients now that have joined us and have made life-changing amounts of money. Like Bill, who I just spoke about, made $120,000 from just lock-in profits on his buy side. Joe went from losses to profits in 4 months. He had quite sizable losses actually when he joined. All right. You can watch this video. I'll share the link very soon. But we turned it around for him. All right. And we gave him a lot of confidence in the market to turn that around. He went from down to up in profits in 4 months from the strategy we implemented for him. Right. Sugar and portfolio growth and plus ROI on the membership. The research has been great. He's grown his portfolio and he's got back his investment as part of Collective Shift. That's our goal. All right. We also back ourselves with a product and our memberships with a 30-day money-back guarantee. The reason is because we don't want to work with people, all right, that aren't winning. And we only take on people that we know we can help. But if you don't see the value for whatever reason, all right, we refund every penny, no questions asked. All right. And that's why we created the Collective Shift Platinum. Now, I'm going to share with you all these products, what you get as features, and then the bonuses we have available for you today. But I must say that we only have 10 spots left in the cohort, and then we're shutting the cohort, right? And I don't know when the new one, is that 9 left? Okay. We will shut the cohort after the 9's filled, and then we're not sure what we're going to do with the next one. Most likely prices will be higher, right? Because we can't work with everyone. Now, what do you get? You get one-on-one session with our head of education, Simon, a personalized session designed around building out your portfolio, getting everything like sorted from a 7-step strategy process, everything to take the next step. All right. Everything I spoke about today implemented for you. That was Jason. He was down 80%. All right. Up 2.5x. He's been investing since 2017, been in crypto for a long time. He's very experienced and he came to us, and being able to have the analyst by his side really changed everything. All right. You get your own dedicated account manager that has regular one-on-ones with you. All right. They do regular outreach, have regular sessions to make sure you're getting everything you need. Tailored guidance, trusted. They're incentivized to make sure you win. All right. And that was the story I shared before. We just introduced one of our clients to a better exchange. He saved $13,000 off the bat. All right. Nikki made 3x on his portfolio since working with us. All right. Since joining with Platinum, his confidence is going to continue. He's up three times his portfolio size. Epic. All right. You get all the access to the full research platform. All right. Everything you get, all the shift list, the ratings, the dashboard, the community, security center. We have step-by-step guides, beginner's course, everything. All right. You know exactly what to look at. Liz, she's in a retirement. Sorry, noise out there. She used the platform every single week, and it cuts through the noise and allows her to stay ahead. She sold some profits recently and went to Europe. Right, unreal. We've got the private WhatsApp community. All right, you get all those insights. That's where we shared before those alerts that come through. We have a private inner circle community with all the inner circle members. You get all the alerts and all those insights daily. I'm in there, responding to questions. You can ask us questions. We're there. You can meet the other members in there as well. All right. Jamie's another one of our clients. He's a business owner. He's up 150% in his portfolio in 5 months. All right. He's pretty happy with that. I'd be pretty happy too. You get direct alerts from me whenever we buy or sell. So that fear of like not knowing when to sell, we share with you the alerts when we're buying and when we're selling directly in the WhatsApp. So you can outsource that decision-making and get it in your pocket. Really, really cool. Not sure if you can see that, but that was just like the screenshot of my bank account when I was just, taking, money out of the market back in 2021. All those alerts back to the Platinum members. Now, the weekly briefing call. Every single week, we have a live office hours video call with our analysts. So you get daily updates of the WhatsApp, you get one-on-one sessions, and you get a weekly live market call. That's where the team jump on, give you updates on where the market's at. We jump on whenever there's something happening in the market, so you're never stuck wondering again. Ken just talks about knowing what and when to sell is everything, and that clarity changed the game for him. All right. That's the hardest part about timing exits, and it's just all handled, all right, with clarity and conviction. On top of the daily WhatsApp, the weekly calls, you now have 11 monthly platinum calls. So every single month, so we have daily WhatsApp, weekly office hours, and monthly sessions to make sure no matter how much time you have, if you've got very little amount of time, you can jump on and get a 90-minute session every single month to get exactly what you need. And that's where Ron just talks about it's a game changer, follows the strategy, just listens back to the recordings. It's epic, all right? Now, we have limited spots left for this. On top of all of what I just mentioned, we have 2 full in-person days you get access to over the course of your 12 months. So if you join and you're a part of the 9 spots that are remaining and you're approved, you get 2 spots to an in-person mastermind. We've got the Miami day coming up this Thursday. We've got all of our US clients coming in, and then we've got Sydney in November. They're amazing days. Like, I'm not sure if you can see these photos, but we have hundreds of people come to these days. We had 120, I think, back in Sydney. I've got 140, I think, coming in November. We have US clients coming in. They're amazing days, in-person strategy, and you get to rub shoulders with other amazing, successful people. And that is why we're so selective on who we bring in, because if you're not a good fit for this community, we're going to throw you out, right? You just won't be approved, because we want this community to be the best, most exclusive investor community for crypto in the world. Alex is a high net worth investor. He's an executive at a large firm. Just talking about having the sense of community is critical to success, all right? It's a small investment in the membership to secure financial freedom and avoid all the costly mistakes. He's a platinum client. All right, or Brady, another platinum client. Always able to get a fast, helpful response from real people, not bots or influencers. All right, everything he needs. Now, here's everything you get for your platinum membership. All right, the price is $14,999 US dollars. All right, what you get in that, if you are approved, I'll share how you can get access to in a second. Private one-on-one educational sessions, platinum in-person strategy day, 2 tickets a year. The one-on-one tailored sessions with your client success manager. The own login to the intelligence platform, all the research, the WhatsApp inner circle, the alerts, the weekly calls, the monthly calls. All right. Now, we only have 9 spots left in the cohort. So we do cohorts. Once they're full, they're closed, they're done. And then we look to increase the price. This is the last 10 spots. We've already had someone sign up just at the start of this session. So there's 9 spots left. We've also thrown in, based on the summit, some additional bonuses are going to be thrown in for those that get approved. All right, and I'll share those now. If you want to jump in and book a call, you need to go over to collectiveshift.io/platinum. I'll get the team to put the link in the chat as well. Once the 10 spots close, then we're done. Just to be clear, the application's closed in 7 days. All right, and then we shut the doors for that cohort, and then we move on. All right, the price may be higher in the future. We don't know when the next cohort will be there, and the spots and the specials will end after the 10 spots are filled. Okay. This is your window, so head over and book a call. Now, for the bonuses, what we're going to offer, for the first 5 people to get approved, there's already been one. I'm not sure if he qualifies. Maybe he does, because he didn't even hear this, but welcome in. You're going to get a one-on-one strategy call with me only on this offer for the first 5 people. So a private one-on-one session. I used to charge thousands of dollars for this. I don't do this publicly outside of Platinum. You'll get a one-on-one private session with me, a video call. I'll go through your portfolio and help. All right, do a one-on-one on top of the offers that I just said, all right? I've worked with so many of our clients. I've done hundreds of one-on-ones now, and really being able to help people build their portfolio with all the experience is everything, all right? And that's what Alex just talks about, just being able to avoid all the painful mistakes and not lose the money has been a big one, all right? Chris helped him with 80 coins. We got that all fixed, all right? He's now up 2.5. He paid off his house from that strategy session. So for the first 5 people approved, you'll get a one-on-one with me. We also have a platinum end of year party. So after the event in Miami and Sydney, we have a full platinum only party where you can bring a partner, DJs, drinks, full platinum crew. You're going to get a free ticket to this. All right. No one else is allowed in outside of platinum clients. All right. So we're going to throw this in completely for free. There's limited spots left, by the way, folks. I mean, there's only 8 left in the cohort. So that kind of makes sense. Now, Jason spoke about that. I'm also doing new client strategy roundtables as well. So for all of our new clients coming in, not only will you get one-on-one sessions consistently throughout the year, you're going to get a strategy session with me. Right? I did one yesterday. We sit down with our clients. I used to, again, charge thousands of dollars for this, and I share with you all my experience. We go through, answer your questions, and I help you with your portfolio. That's where I help Liz. That's going to be added as another bonus. Again, just head over to the Platinum link down below, and you can do that. Additional monthly workshops. You're going to get another monthly workshop. You're going to get 2 a month. On top of the daily updates in the WhatsApp, the weekly sessions, the monthly, and your one-on-ones, you're also going to get an additional education session if you need. Now, you may think this is a lot. This is about saving you time. We direct you based on where you need the most help, and your client success managers will make sure you're only attending the things that you need, right? Because we're here to save you time. That's where Kieran was up 2.5x from that. Wouldn't have happened without Collective Shift, he says. Trust and strategy made all the difference. Now, you're also going to get access to all of our exclusive member discounts, personal introductions, all of our playbooks, templates, everything. That was what I said before, where we saved that client $13,000. This is where you'll get all the direct intros, personal email introductions, not fluff, real ongoing ROI. All right. On top of this, you'll get all of the system playbooks, all of our sales strategy documents. We've got 100+ resources, a beginner's course. We've got so much content in there to help you out. All right. And that's instantly as soon as you're approved in there. Callum, he works in IT, just talks about the operating system, gives him the clarity he needs to act daily. All right. Especially in tough markets. And that's where we really win. All right, Shane's been with us. He's grown 15x. He's been with us for a long time. He's been the beacon of unbiased research and education. So on top of all the normal things you get online, you will not find these online. The first 5 platinum signups will get a one-on-one with me. All right, one-on-one session, video call. You'll get a free ticket to the platinum end of your party, the strategy roundtable, an additional monthly workshop, the platinum operating bundle, and the discounts worth tens of thousands of dollars. All right. On top of this, we are launching a new Platinum Accelerator. So this is a 4-week program, live coaching call that we are going to be charging $5,000 US for. You are going to get access to this for free. All right. This is a 4-week coaching call where we take you through setting up yourself for success, the markets, getting your portfolio allocation right there with Simon and head of education and San. You're also going to get the investor operating system. You'll work closely with Travis. You'll get your sales strategy. And then you'll have your accelerator and bonus exclusive content with me. That's a 5 live group coaching call. That is our Platinum Accelerator worth $5,000. You'll get that for free. For those of you that are interested in just the accelerator as well, same process. You can go and book in a call, right? And you can chat to the team if you're interested in that. So everything you get, 15K, for the next 9 people, one-on-one educational session, the Platinum in-person strategy, pass 2 a year, the one-on-one sessions with your client success manager, the Inner Circle WhatsApp, the research platform, portfolio alerts, weekly call, monthly calls, plus all these bonuses, right? The end of year party, the strategy roundtable, the monthly workshops, operating bundle, all the member discounts, plus the first 5 platinums will get a one-on-one with me, all right? That's if you are approved for platinum. Now, how does this work? To apply, you just need to click the link in the chat. Hopefully you can see that, or go to www.collectiveshift.io/platinum. You need to go to the landing page and you book a call. All right, choose a time that works for you. Make sure you fill out that form with all your goals, challenges, everything. If we do not think you're a good fit, we'll just cancel the call. All right, we don't have time to waste. We're looking for 9 people to join us, and then we're closing the cohort. All right, and then prices are most likely going to go up. You'll speak with the member growth team and discuss your situation, your portfolio size, goals, challenges, and see if it's a good fit. If you have less than 250K, you can still apply. It depends on your circumstances around your other assets and your net worth. But ultimately, you need more than 250K in investable assets. It doesn't need to be crypto, but you need to have a chat to see if it's a good fit. Once you have a chat, if you're a good fit and you're in the first 10 people, you get immediate access to everything, personalized strategy, all right, and you'll join the Platinum community. So you need to schedule a call to see if it's a good fit. All right, recent DT in the chat. I think there's already calls coming through. It's a 30-minute call. It's a video call. It's the first 9 people in. Then we're closing the doors. Okay? It's a video call. Please fill out appropriately. If we don't think it's a good fit, we're going to cancel it. As I said, we don't have time to waste. And we have the 30-day money-back guarantee. This is because we're very confident on the product. And for whatever reason you don't like it, we don't want you to be sitting around there and affecting the community. We'll give you your money back. All right? No questions asked, just messages. Within 30 days, you're going to have a clear strategy. You'll know exactly what to do. You'll have all the weight lift off your shoulders. You'll see why 70% of members stay for a second, third year. And if you still don't like it, we'll give you money back. Right? All the risk is on us. Now, for the Platinum Accelerator, for those people that aren't at the $250,000 level, we do have the Platinum Accelerator. As I said, it's $5,000 US. It's the 4-week accelerator course where you go through everything I just mentioned, the coaching course. We do offer that. It's a new product we're launching. We only have limited spots for that as well. If you are interested in that Platinum Accelerator program, it starts on November 6th. You need to be approved and in. And if you miss out on that first cohort of people, I'm not sure how many people are left on it. All right. Then it will be another cohort down the line. But if you are interested in that, you need to go to the same link. It will say platinum $15,000, but still book a call, all right? And just let the team know that you're interested in the accelerator and they can chat to you about it, okay? We have more spots for the Platinum Accelerator, but it's something that is coming up and we'll be launching that on November 6th, okay? Platinum members that get approved, you'll get this added for free. And all of our existing Platinum clients, you'll also be getting this for free, all right? So we'll be rolling this out as a bonus for all of our existing Platinum clients as well, which is really cool. Again, 30-day money back guarantee, no questions asked. What's the ROI, you say? There's a lot of people, and I just want to make sure that it's coming through again. We got a lot of chatter, so I'll answer some questions soon. We've got Damien. Welcome, Damien's just booked in. Welcome, Jason's booked in. We've got Sam. Fantastic. Peter. Ahmed. Celestina. Welcome. So make sure you head over to that link, folks. Book in, and the team will chat to you, all right? If we can just drop the link again, or go to collectiveshift.io/platinum. So what's the ROI? Well, this is, again, our portfolio versus the S&P 500 over the last 12, 24, and 36 months. The last 12 months, up 334%. 24 months, 562%. All right? And 36 months, up 640%. So if you invested that $250,000 3 years ago with the strategy and you just copied what we did, you'd be up 1.6 million in profit. Now, obviously, guys, past results don't indicate future earnings. But in terms of our past results, our annualized return is 58% per year on average. This is our altcoin winners. Our biggest plays got Ethereum at $80, Syrup up 1,200%. I think Ethereum's, at the all-time high, did a 6,000% return. Solana, we got up 1,200%. IMF, nearly 1,000%. BTC, 4,000%. Hype, Pendle. These are our winners, all right? And this is what we're consistently finding and what we're really good at, being able to find for our clients. The other benefits as well, I'll answer some questions in a sec, guys, is it's tax deductible for most people. Please speak to your accountant, but if you're investing under your company or retirement, you can look to use this as a tax deduction, all right? If you're you can do it on your SMSF as well. Just make sure you speak to your accountant first, right? And we have that refund guarantee, no lock-in. The fast-track onboarding experience is in that first week. You have your client onboarding call. You'll get a personal welcome call from me. You'll have your private one-on-one session. If you're in the first 5, you'll get a one-on-one session with me. You'll have a roundtable session with myself, and then ongoing, the weekly sessions, monthly sessions, one-on-one check-ins to make sure you're hitting on your strategy, right? If you have questions, thoughts, you're overwhelmed, you've got the WhatsApp 24/7, all the portfolio alerts straight to your phone, all right? And then you have the end-of-year party. We've got the in-person events as well, plus all the replays and recordings go up. Now, if you think crypto is too complex, it's too risky, it's volatile, you understand that this space, a lot of people lost a lot of money, you're absolutely right. Crypto is the Wild West. And that's exactly why Platinum is such a good fit for people that don't have the time to do it themselves. The complexity is that we simplify it. The risk is we manage it with our proven frameworks. And the volatility is where we help you stay calm and execute the plan when the opportunities arise. All right? 8 years, 1,000 members, expert guidance to avoid all the emotional mistakes everyone does, and a community that actually helps you stay accountable. All right? And that's the Platinum difference. Now, this isn't a small investment for some people, so I get it. Please, if you need to speak to your partner, your business partner, you can. Rohar, can I start with 20K? You can just book in a call. We just need to understand your circumstances, Rohar, to make sure you're a good fit for the community. All right? So you can book in a call and the guys will see if you're a good fit and ask you a few questions. This is a business decision, all right? This is not a personal expense. All right? So if you have $200,000 in crypto or $500,000 in crypto, one bad decision could cost you and your partner hundreds of thousands of dollars. This 15K investment is about an insurance policy to help you save against any potential losses, all right? That is the portfolio plan that we have, and that is why the portfolio system works so well with Platinum, is because we protect the downside, all right, and give you the biggest upside. Now, if you're not convinced it's worth for you, I get it. I'd ask yourself these questions. Do you have more than $100,000 in crypto? All right? If yes, well, one mistake could probably cost you upwards of 50 to 100K. Have you round trip gains before? If yes, well, you know the pain of watching all of that evaporate, and it's so painful because we've all done it. Are you busy with your work, family life? If yes, and you don't have time to do the research 10 to 15 hours a week, well, this is perfect for you. It's about saving you time. All you need is 30 minutes a week. If you actually want to exit this cycle with real wealth, all right, if that's a yes, Well, then this proven system and the process will allow you to do that. Okay. And are you willing to do this alone again? Do you want to go and try and attack this on your own? If no, then Platinum is exactly for you. All right. Platinum is not for people that have less than 100K in crypto or just less than 100K in general. You can have a smaller amount, but you need to make sure that you fit out of the criteria, which the team will speak to you. All right. Collective Shift Platinum is not for anyone that wants us to manage their money for you. We don't manage your money for you. You need to execute the transactions on your own. And we don't work with people who aren't serious about exiting and looking at this space long term. If you're looking at short-term overnight returns, we're not for you. But if that is you and you're a serious investor, you've round trip before, or you don't want to do it again, and you want to be a part of a community with busy professionals and exclusive insights with our community and in-person events and want to exit appropriately, then this is for you. All right, and that's where Kent grew his portfolio 50K in the first week. Steve, Melbourne based. We've got, our office in Melbourne. We're in Miami at the moment. We spread ourselves between the US and Australia. Adrian turned $10,000 into $100,000. His biggest financial win is probably turning the 10 grand into 100 grand. That's a big win. That's awesome. Made back like 8 times his membership, seven times. Now, why are we doing these limited time bonuses and offers? Because we only have those 9 spots left. All right. And welcome to everyone's booking a call. Great to see. Maybe less than that now. But once those spots are filled, then we're done, guys. We're wrapping up, closing the cohort. And in future, the price most likely will be higher. Okay, we want to keep our cohorts small, have limited spots so everyone has a really great experience. Now, if you think you missed the boat already, we've gone through all that today. We have at least 6 to 12 months to go, in my opinion, in this bull market, plus beyond that. And I've heard the same thing. I think I missed the boat. Heard the same thing for the last 8 years. People don't realize that 99% of the world still doesn't understand or even own crypto. All right, we're still in its infancy. Ben talks about how we're the Web3 crypto bullshit filter. All right, genuine humans providing quality research and guidance through the wild west of crypto. Hence why you will still and will continue to be a member in the future. Awesome. So again, we don't execute the trades for you. We give you the strategy, the tools, the support, the confidence, and you keep all the upside. It's a flat fee. That's 12 months. And then you have the decision whether or not you want to continue to our Platinum Elevate afterwards, or you want to downgrade to our Platinum Pulse. You have the full decision in your hands. So we need to jump over, book a call. Now, when are the calls? We run multiple sessions. We accommodate primarily the US and Australian time zone. If you can't make it, we have recordings available 24/7. Everything is recorded. All the one-on-one sessions, you pick a time that works best for you. Plus, we have the WhatsApp community that's available 24/7 as well. All right. Chris Judd is a client of ours. He uses Collective Shift so he doesn't miss out on anything big that's going to impact him on the daily. For those in Australia, you know Chris. Now, if you're not ready, you want to come back later. This is the same thing that everyone says. They wait for the storm to hit and then try and build the shelter. This is where the winners get their plan sorted now, folks. All right. You build first or you lose everything. I know because I've seen it. I did it when I started. You get that sorted now and you can take advantage of these dips and the altcoins that are coming out. All right. And have that exit plan. Ryan said, just think about what you can make when you do an exit and exit your sell strategy successfully versus the price of your membership. Do the logic on that. Right? He was trying to trade crypto and just having the people on our side to help him execute and follow the sell strategy amongst a group of other winners made all the difference. Now, you may be on the wrong exchange. This is where we saved our clients 7 figures from FTX back in 2022. Right? Anthony just said how a big thanks to Ben for warning to get everyone off FTX and exchanges in general. Wild. All right. So we're on your side to try and make sure that you're getting the right insights, the right exchanges. We do the right introductions, where you should buy, how to store. We give all those introductions. Now, I want to answer some questions, folks. So keep sending them in. I'm going to get to those in just a second. This is up to you now, guys. All right. Fantastic to see all the calls coming in. You got the choice. We've got the system there. We know it works. You've seen the results. You've seen the proof. It's up to you. All right. There's so many case studies and testimonials and proof of this working. Grant just signed up for another year, talks about how helpful we are. All right. He's based in New Zealand, second to none. All right. And taking advantage of the downward swings is the biggest thing for him. The conversation as well is just a call. We want to understand if it's a good fit. It's not a payment page. It's a chat. All right. We'll walk you through the goals, assets, experience. If it's not a good fit, that's fine. You'll have some clarity on the next steps. All right. And you'll get the best chance you've had this cycle. Jane's been with us for 3 bull markets and bagged profits every bull run. All right. Made life-changing amounts of money. And the last thing, again, I'll just reiterate, is that we take on all the risk. We do that because we want to make sure you guys know that this service is what it is. And if you don't find value, we've got a no questions asked policy. All right. Peter talks about how we're a perfect hands-on tailored service for anyone that wants that tailored advice. He's a doctor, super helpful. So just to recap, you'll get the one-on-one education sessions, in-person days, the Platinum Concierge, the research platform, the WhatsApp, portfolio alerts, everything there, the monthly sessions, the weekly sessions, the strategy roundtable, all right, with me, the end of year party, the monthly strategy workshops, all the operating systems, and the first 5 people will also get a one-on-one with me, all right? Now, let's get into some questions. I'm not going to be able to do this pretty easy, I don't think. We'll see. Feel free to shoot over some questions, folks. Good to see 600 live with us. This is pretty epic. Can you start with 20K? Yes, you can. As I said, we've also got the accelerator program as well, so you can have a chat to the guys about that if you need some help. Welcome, Damien. Just booked in a call. Steve, best primary markets. I use Uniswap. That's where I get most of my access to the assets that are available directly on chain. David, do you think this run will be different with all the institutional things coming into the market? Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think this run is already different. In fact, like we're looking at, beyond a 4-year cycle now. I think, Matt spoke about that a lot. Things have definitely changed. And I think we're extending well into beyond this year. Do you want to come up, Matty? We'll bring up Matt, folks. If you guys have some questions, feel free to throw them in.
Yeah, let's do it. And yeah, I think as I said earlier, for those who missed, institutional adoption is nowhere near where I've seen it ever before. And I think 2026 clearly is going to strengthen.
The amount of ETF inflows.
Yeah, the ETF inflows. One of several things that are underrated about the ETF inflows is they've been live for, 19 or 20 months since January last year. And one thing that's still heavily underrated is they are quite limited in their accessibility still. So a lot of financial, like asset managers, people looking after family offices' money, things like that, other advisors. I was listening to a podcast the other day with one of the ETF issuers, and they were talking about how at the moment, the rules in compliance for a lot of these fund managers and advisors is that they're bound to like solicited advice. The client has to come to the advisor demanding they want to get exposure to BlackRock's ETF. The likes of JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley and other wealth managers I was hearing on this podcast, they're still bound by this solicited advice, and they are now transitioning to unsolicited advice where they're able to actively recommend it to the client.
Crazy.
Like, and you think all the records that this Bitcoin ETF has broken already with these like still limitations on it as far as accessibility goes. So we saw the other week Morgan Stanley saying that growth portfolios, they now recommend 2 to 4% of Bitcoin exposure. Couple of years ago, they hated Bitcoin. They hated it.
And to think that wasn't, it's only been around 2 years ETF. So this bull market is the first one we've actually had that institutional flow. So to think that it wouldn't act the same is crazy. Questions coming through. Stephanie, how can I access the template you talked about? I think the team might drop the link again. Might have to scroll up a little bit. Just make sure you've got that. We've got some more calls coming through. Welcome, Raha. Fantastic. Good to see. What else? We had a question there around what's the difference in trading on Robinhood versus Uniswap, Crypto.com, Coinbase, etc.?
Yeah, Robinhood and various other exchanges like Crypto.com, they are centralized, so they charge a fee for access and running their business in the back end, covering all their costs and making a profit. Versus Uniswap, PancakeSwap is another one on Solana. There's Jupiter, so you might hear of these different applications. Essentially they're projects that people around the world and teams around the world have built, written the code bases for them and deployed them onto the blockchains themselves. So for Jupiter, it allows you to swap tokens on the Solana blockchain predominantly. Uniswap allows you to do that on Ethereum blockchain and various other ones. If Syrup that you said earlier, I send some cryptocurrency from a centralized exchange, that I sign up to. I send it to my own custody, my own wallet. I connect to Uniswap, and then I can swap that cryptocurrency for Maple or Syrup. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits to decentralized exchanges. Accessibility is one of various.
Yeah, and we walk you through that as well. So when you need support, like we've got guides, step-by-step processes, educational materials to walk you through that. Some tokens are available there, some tokens on different exchanges. Usually by the time they get to the major exchanges, for an altcoin anyway, they've reached a certain market cap. So if you get in before, that's where you get a lot of growth. But then for other people, it's just, it's very difficult to get access to these things. And we just set you up on a major exchange.
Yeah.
I might get some questions. I think some starred ones from before.
Yeah, if you scroll up there, is it best to keep crypto holdings long term, then sell, or sell when it reaches a target price? Yeah, that is a great question, and a very, very common question that we still get after 7 or 8 years. It's probably up there with our most common question that we get, Ben. In terms of like going about answering that, like it is ultimately, I've been trying to answer this for several years, and ultimately the reality is, and the most honest answer I can come up with, it really does depend on your own goals. So particularly like what Travis was saying earlier, if particularly that second part of that question there, if it has hit your targets already, then you've actually spent time thinking about your own goals and you've set them, and it hits your price target, then hey, go ahead and sell.
Yeah, I think definitely, like for me, it's like more about the goals. So like I took profits on Syrup a few months ago. Not that it was the absolute top of the market. I think it's still got a lot to go, but like, because I wanted to sell and achieve my goals, and my goals was to buy mum and dad a house, and I was able to do that. So it really comes back down to your goals. Like, do you need the money? Why do you want the money? There's never a bad time to take profits. And if you can, take some chips off the table, it's a great way to lock in profits, on the way up. I'm never a bad idea to take profits.
Yeah.
But it all comes back to the goal, to be honest.
Yeah. Well said. From Lizzie here about XRP and our outlook on it. XRP is always one that we've said for a while now, like long term, we have our own thoughts on it in terms of, we don't really think it'll be around for several years or like, a decade in the future. I'm a bit skeptical of its long term, but absolutely this whole bull market, I have said, I fully expect XRP to continue to go up in US dollar value and hit new all-time highs and break through them. And I still expect in this bull market, XRP will go up in value. I personally just am not interested in investing in it because I think there's better risk rewards with other cryptocurrencies such as Hyperliquid, which I spoke about earlier. But XRP, they certainly have a lot going for them in the very short term. Let's call it 6-month outlook. Their RLUSD stablecoin is seeing tremendous growth. Ripple Labs is sort of tying in its RLUSD stablecoins in the terms and T's and C's of a lot of acquisitions that they're currently doing. So there was a big acquisition of a fintech prime brokerage, I think last year, and that's sort of finally finishing. And they did another acquisition recently, which also had RLUSD tied into it. Ironically, the bulk of the RLUSD supply is on Ethereum, but nonetheless, it's branding for Ripple. It's associated with XRP. We have the Ripple main summit coming up in November. Their main annual conference is coming up in November in New York. So we might get some announcements there from the Ripple ecosystem. But yeah, XRP short term, look, it'll go up in value if Bitcoin does what we expect. But I'm not really interested in it beyond this bull market.
Yeah, and those updates from a client perspective, like whether you join as a platinum or one of our lower tier clients, you get access to our research portal, right? And that's where we have our altcoin ratings. At the moment, I think we're slightly bullish on XRP. Yes. When that changes, because evidently tomorrow something will change, having that updated insights is where we push that. So you always get those alerts on kind of where we're thinking different altcoins will go. Also, yeah, great to see. Welcome, Dees. Jumped on. We got Raha. Some calls coming in. Damien, welcome, mate.
I had to turn my notifications off before my phone kept lighting up.
Jason, Sam, awesome guys. The team, Recent Detail, will be speaking with you guys soon. If you want to learn more as well, folks, on that, you can just head over to collectiveshift.io/platinum. Check it out. If you want to talk about the accelerator as well, you can just book the same call. What else we got?
RWAs, real world assets. They've been a talking point, well, really since I got involved with crypto since 2017. They were called, tokenized securities, things like that. We had tokenized property in 2018 become a big narrative at the time, and a lot of those startups that launched are now no longer. They've had an attempt at it. It failed. They're gearing up again, real world assets. This time they might find the secret sauce, but ultimately for years now, the big issue with RWAs has been liquidity and just pricing efficiency or lack of pricing efficiency. So the markets for these RWAs have been extremely illiquid, and it's causing the demand side. It's like that chicken and the egg sort of problem. The demand side has just not been there for RWAs for many years now, other than if you're counting real world assets as tokenized cash equivalents or tokenized treasuries. Those technically are RWAs, and they've been exploding. But I think when most people talk about RWAs, they're thinking about tokenized properties, tokenized cars, things like that. And for many, many years now, that has been struggling as a sector. So look, I'm keeping an eye on it, but overall, I'm quite bearish on any RWA, I suppose, cryptocurrencies for the foreseeable future.
And there's a lot of competition too, right? Like so much competition in the RWA space. There's actually a lot of competition everywhere. There's so many different altcoins now. Even if a narrative is moving, trying to find the right token in that narrative is super difficult.
It's interesting, right? Just like quickly on RWAs, like I fully expect a project like World Liberty Finance, like the Trump associated project. I would be pretty surprised if I didn't see them at some stage try to do some tokenized Trump towers or something like that. Like it's very foreseeable. And they sort of hinted to that. Actually, I was in Singapore not long ago at Token 2049, the biggest annual conference in the industry. And they did sort of, quietly hint at that coming up. Again, like what we see in crypto, narratives can have such a powerful influence over short-term prices. So, hey, if that World Liberty Financial comes out with an announcement like tokenized property, you could see a wave of hype around that sector, and maybe some RWA projects will do pretty well in the short term. But overall, I'm not investing based off a hope that something potentially happens. Much rather go in more fundamental projects.
Brilliant. Kevin, thank you guys. You are very good. Much appreciated. I'm catching up with David Thursday. Awesome, Kevin.
Nice.
Great to see you soon. Dean, hey lads, great session today. My question is, if I'm down 80% on an investment and have been for months, should I get out or just wait? I bought some shit over here. Everyone's been through that, mate. Look, I think, what's the percentage on down 80%? It's up 300%, up 400% to get it back to zero?
Oh, to get back to zero. Yeah, it would be, at least that. Yeah, at least the 4x.
The math.
Yeah.
I need to, calculate, Dean, but like, if you're down 80% on a token, it will need to go back up at least 400% to get back to break even.
Yeah.
We think right now, a lot of the best tokens probably have 2 to 3x from here to get to the top of the market. So you've just got to think, for me, down 80% is probably red flags. I don't know what it is, but, for me, cutting losses is super important. Especially as we head into this stage of the cycle. But, I get it. It's hard. It's opportunity cost though.
Yeah, opportunity cost is something that's critical to think about, especially with the time ticking down on the bull market remaining. How much longer are you willing to just hold on to this, hoping that it comes back?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the bull market might end. And with that cash or capital, you could have used it on something that had some more momentum. So, it's a really common problem.
Colin, you mentioned you hold on to your Bitcoin. Do you still have a sell price? Thanks for the great info. Yeah, I mean, our Bitcoin target's somewhere between 150,000 and 180,000. I will look to potentially, depending on how the cycle's playing out, I'm not planning on taking any profits. If I do, it would be around that range. It always sort of update based on where we are in the data. But yeah, I will be ultimately just looking to sell down all my altcoins and then using that to buy property and then accumulate more Bitcoin. If the cycle gets really euphoric and we have a huge blow off top, that's where I'll take profits on Bitcoin. But if we just have this steady growth, grow higher that we're looking at now, I probably won't be selling unless I have to.
Yeah, well said.
Is the ISO 2022 coins just noise?
Yeah. That's been my opinion for several years now. From Steve there. It's a compliance sort of standard. More so to do with financial messaging. So people often and for years now have been asking me about projects that are compliant with this standard. But ultimately, I just say it's one ingredient out of several that you've got to assess when you're researching and giving cryptocurrency. just as you would look at something like the team and their background, the competitive landscape of a certain project, the nature of the product, how far along are they on their development, et cetera, like whether they're ISO 20022 compliant or not is, again, just one other thing that you tick the box on. But for me, it's not really moving the needle.
No. Agree. Any other questions, folks? Feel free to shoot them in. Otherwise, great for everyone. Fred, how do we access the secondary market? That's what we spoke about before, Fred. It's exactly what we do at Collective Shift. Not only the access to the secondary market, but it's also like getting the right tokens. And again, they don't come that frequent. There's a lot that goes like altcoins, essentially a secondary market or primary markets. A lot of people talk about online. They're essentially just getting access to tokens before the major exchanges. That is one that, we look to, if I think about Syrup as a perfect example, like getting access to that months before it got listed was one of the biggest reasons why you're able to get that growth in the asset. All right. That is something we walk through. We have training step by step. We kind of help people do that. But again, it's ultimately about what tokens you're buying there. There's millions more coins than ever before. You can go to the secondary market now. But it's the Wild West. And, like you said before on your update, like 90% of the market is underperforming. Even the others, like altcoin chart
index,
is like, the index is really underperforming. So, if you need help with that, Fred, that's exactly what we do at Collective Shift. Go and book a call, speak with the team. We walk you through step by step. We have the platform, tutorials. It's very easy. We have all those insights and we're there to help you and guide you through the process. Stephanie, this might be a dumb question, but if everyone is waiting to sell their altcoins at the bell, is this going to be like one of the chaos?
Excellent question. It's a similar debate at the moment, Stephanie, to be honest, with this concept of the 4-year cycle, which I went through earlier. Not everyone, but a lot of people are talking about this 4-year cycle and are investing accordingly. So they bought in accordance with the 4-year cycle, and they are now meant to be, if they are really closely following it, they are meant to be selling basically right now, late October, early November. That's when the past 2 bull markets we've seen the top of the cycle, if you bring it back to the cycle low. So, Stephanie, I do think about this a lot. If everyone is seemingly saying, hey, 4-year cycle's coming to an end, let's draw the curtains, it will presumably be a big rush and a heavy sell-off in Bitcoin. So I think, Stephanie, where I conclude and where I find my answer on this sort of question is people often talk a lot about what they're going to do. Social media, I think I've really over the years given a lot more value to the silent majority, to be honest. When you're on social media, the timeline is giving you information of people who are very active. And if those people are all saying, hey, I want to sell all my altcoins when Bitcoin's topping out, it's easier said than done, as we've gone through. And I dare say a lot of those people who are even saying that won't actually sell when Bitcoin is hitting the top. So I take your point there, and I've thought a lot about that over the years, but it just hasn't turned out to be true when everyone's saying to do something. Often it actually doesn't happen.
It's the opposite. Rick, where can we learn WoW or get practical education of how Ethereum actually works, how Polkadot is used? Essentially just kind of understanding the real world use cases.
The websites of the foundations behind these projects are exceptional. They've improved a lot over the years. So I think it's ethereum.org. Maybe Google Ethereum and make sure you're not going through a scam link, but I believe it is ethereum.org, or at least the Ethereum Foundation has its main Ethereum website, which they've bolstered, and a lot of third-party content has been added to that website, and it explains and walkthroughs the use cases, value propositions, why does the Ethereum blockchain exist, how is it helping the world be a better place. Solana does the same. Polkadot's underlying foundation, supporting the Polkadot ecosystem, does the same. So they want, like any product, essentially, they want people to understand it. So there's a lot of budgets thrown at these content creation as well, through things like YouTube and other video series, that these foundations are wanting to help people understand what their blockchain does and what they want developers to be building on it and what they want users to be using it for.
Yeah, and it's very speculative too. Like a lot of the projects haven't got a lot of real world use cases on them right now. Yeah, it's a vision. there's a few different examples that are kind of like coming to fruition now, but a lot of the growth is in that speculation phase. And like Polkadot as an example, like there's different use case on that blockchain, but then even from an investment perspective, doesn't mean that, you know, it'll go up. It depends on the token economics and a bunch of different things. So
yeah, it's very much like startup investing in many ways. Like, I don't know, just take any AI startup from the past 2 years. They might have a vision for building some AI sort of feature. It works really well, but ultimately the next day Google comes out and launches that feature and basically nulls like their business is now just like cancelled essentially. They had a vision, but just didn't find product market fit
100%.
for competitive reasons. That happens in crypto all the time.
100%. Damien, is it okay to pay for the Platinum membership using SMSF and has been set up for crypto trading? 99% of people, yes, Damien. You just need to check with your accountant, but we have a lot of people that sign up through the SMSF. You know, and then, you know, for most people, it's a tax deduction as well. So short answer is yeah, for most people, 100%. You've just got to just double check with your accountant. Cool. Well, unless there's any more questions, been great spending some time with all of you. There's been a lot of engagement, a lot of questions coming through. It's been fantastic. It's getting a bit hot up here on stage. Miami must be I feel like 100% humidity.
It seeps through.
Unless there's any more questions, folks, it's been fantastic hanging out with all of you. We'll be obviously chatting and all those calls coming in. DT and Reese will speak to you over the next few days. We'll have the replay sent out as well. So the replay will be sent out, sent it via email so you guys can watch it back. And also we'll send on email and text so you can watch it back if you didn't get time to watch it all. We know it was a long session. But thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been fantastic. Thank you to the studio, everyone behind the scenes. Been a whole thing, especially when the power went out. That was good. We held it together. Thank you to Travis. Thanks to all the team, DT, Reese, Alice, San, Beck, everyone. Yeah, Phil, lost you for the last 45 minutes. Yes, so Phil, we'll send out a replay so you can watch it back. I think it'll be up for 3 or 4 days, I believe. So we'll send it out via email and text so you can watch it back, and feel free to shoot us any questions. If you want to take advantage of all those bonuses, jump onto the Collective Shift website, book in a call. If you are not ready for the high platinum tier, we have some other services. You can just go and book in a call and the team can chat to you about it. Dean says, you guys are the best, Ghost and Kilda. Karam, thank you, Ben. Said I was CryptoCon. See you there. Thank you, Phil. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Debbie. Fantastic. See you all guys very soon.
Lovely. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.